In front of him, there were almost 10,000 remaining human resistance forces, which were totally unafraid. As for Cloud Dance? There's no need for him to worry, because once the blood of Long Qingxia wakes up, he doesn't have to do it. For the real young master of the evil family, it's not enough to just give him an appetizer. What's more, at this moment he is looking forward to the picture of Cloud Dance solved by Dragon Qingxia himself. Only in that way can he make up for all the loss and the pain he suffered. Brothers, when I have reached this point, I will drop my words. Even if I die, I will never surrender. I will be a hero again in 18 years. At this time, one of the soldiers in the bloody battlefield, a man with many scars, but still straight-waist, glared at the Shangguanzhong in the distance and yelled. Although, in the eyes of Shangguanzhong, he may be worse than an ant, in fact, he will have fear in his heart. Even as long as human beings are faced with death, they will feel the fear of fear. However, the psychological fear does not mean that he will be afraid of death. This war with the Beast Gate sacrificed too much, also early on with the determination to fight to death. Want them to give in order to live as a running dog. Dream. Yes, I'll be a hero again in 18 years. Never surrender. However, under the shout of the big man, all the soldiers, whether wounded or in a mess or in good condition, suddenly cried out, "Never surrender." Phoenix, dragon and so on the soldiers of other worlds, with the resolute cry of human beings, also felt a burst of excited admiration. In the eyes of people in other circles, human beings are just weak and vulnerable groups. Even people in the upper circles, in the eyes of the dragon, phoenix and other ethnic groups, are just human beings with better cultivation. However, at this moment, they feel that they are soldiers, real soldiers. And even human soldiers are so fearless of life and death. How can they think they are superior to human beings? We Phoenix people will never surrender. We the dragon people will never surrender. We will never surrender to the top of the desert. One by one from all sides of the continuous aspiration shouts, a sound of resounding in this piece of heaven and earth. With unyielding ambition and determination, Shangguanzhong, which used to stand on a hill with a high air, listened to the echoing voice of resistance. His face was extremely gloomy, and his dark eyes were set off. Human beings have their own bad habits. The fear of death and greed for life exists in most people. It is understandable that other ethnic groups, such as the Phoenix, refuse to surrender. But Shangguanzhong never thought that the first one who refused to surrender came from the mouth of human beings. Have humans evolved to be fearless of life and death? But Shangguanzhong doesn't know that human beings have bad habits just because they have 7 emotions and 6 desires. However, because they have 7 emotions and 6 desires, human beings can become powerful, fearless and even beyond everyone's expectation. This is like the endless cycle of all things in the world, where there are advantages and disadvantages. Of course, the potential of human beings may not be comparable in other fields. Good. Then you will be buried with me one by one. Since it's impossible to win over, it's the one that doesn't stay. As soon as Shangguanzhong's voice fell, he suddenly raised his hand, and the black fighting spirit suddenly flew out of the air, and quickly attacked the direction of the most unyielding man. Oh! Black fighting air with a strong force hula and passed. The air as if the breath was torn in that moment in general. This blow, enough to just the big man as the center of 100 meters of people in one fell swoop smashed. Even in the eyes of human beings, the Great Han and others are the best of the best, but they don't even have the chance to fight back in the face of Shangguanzhong's attack. But they do not regret to join the team, do not regret to pay the cost of life, because they have slaughtered enough capital. As for other people, no matter whether they react or not, they want to mobilize their spiritual power to stop them at that second. However, I can only watch the black aggressive attack fall. Boom. A loud noise dust set off around a hazy. Haha, to regret, hurry up. Otherwise. Shangguanzhong's gloomy laughter continued to ring. It was obvious that this kind of complete rolling attack made him feel good. However, before the last sentence was uttered, the pupils suddenly shrank, the voice stuck in the throat, and a face like swallowing a frog became ferocious. I saw that when the flying dust settled, what came into sight was not the broken and bloody corpse, but it suddenly stood on the petite figure in front of the many strong soldiers. Cloud Dance. Cloud Dance. It's you again. Shangguanzhang's eyes narrowed darkly, and the crazy anger at the bottom of his eyes was obvious. It was obvious that he couldn't believe that Yunwu suddenly appeared and could take his attack with his bare hands. For Yunwu, before going to Shangguanzhang, she could clearly know the extent of her injury. What's more, even in the heyday of Cloud Dance, it won't be his opponent, let alone let her take the power of his full attack with her bare hands. However, the road standing in front of those human soldiers is Cloud Dance. There was no contract beast, no strange sword, or even the fluctuation of spiritual elements from her. Otherwise, he couldn't have felt it just now. So how did she do it? Compared with Shangguanzhang's anger and doubt, all the soldiers who were surprised by the scene behind the Cloud Dance were in a stupefied surprise. No matter which side of the human, or the dragon and others, at this time the mood is absolutely in a surprise and see the excitement of hope. Miss Cloud Dance. Miss. Master. Different names, but also with a trembling surprise voice sounded. Especially at this time, dozens of people standing behind Yunwu were almost so excited that their eyes almost turned red. Here comes Miss Yunwu. She came and saved them. Yunwu's chest is hot, and the corner of her mouth is still stained with a trace of blood. But at this time, the streamer of her eyes is in a bloodthirsty cold state, and her black eyes are also transformed into purple eyes. She didn't turn around to answer the soldiers, and didn't look at them, but the purple pupil has been staring at the Shangguanzhang coldly from the beginning. The ancient necklace on the neck is emitting a little light flow at this time. However, if you don't take it seriously, you can't really see it. It was not long ago that Bai Lao woke up, and his resistance also included Bai Lao's strength. Her eyes will return to purple, because Bai Lao's awakening has driven the power of witchcraft in her body to return to her true color. It turns out that the reason why Bai Lao sleeps again is that the power of the evil within the female subject is becoming more and more powerful. Coupled with the problem of the upper boundary, it leads to the power of the witch family that has suppressed her own blood, and then he gradually falls into a deep sleep. If you want to wake him up again, you must use her hard work to break the seal. If it wasn't for the end, under the thunderous sound of the dark clouds, Yunwu might not remember that when she woke up, it was the time when she was most embarrassed and full of blood. However, Bai Lao's awakening, from the information Bai Lao said, the woman's original joy in the face of old friends, was replaced by haze. The mood suddenly fell to the bottom, and this low, let her suddenly born a murderous anger. A Shangguanzhang is just killing a Shangguanzhang. It needs Shangguanzhang. 3 words. Staring at Shangguanzhang for a while, Yunwu just said 3 words. But the 3 words spread like a raging rage, and the listeners could feel the full sense of killing, and some kind of emotions. But who doesn't want to kill Shangguanzhang? If the conditions are okay, they can't help but want to jump on him and bite off his flesh and blood to feed the dog. As for Shangguanzhang, looking at the Cloud Dance shouting his name, a trace of irony rose in his eyes. Why? Think that calling his name and releasing his killing will make him feel afraid? Or do you think that would kill him? Even the power of awakening caused by dragon's blood sacrifice can't kill him. Can she kill him just because she's angry? Fantastic. Although he suffered losses several times, he was not as arrogant as before, but in the face of her posture of breaking him up again and again, he began to feel a little boring. Perhaps, after just being reborn from the dead, his body grew up in the power of darkness, and his inner strength was obviously more powerful than before. His whole body was full of power, and he could be proud of everything. Yunwu, why don't you help him when you are free to shout here? He, of course, refers to the dragon. At this time, the dragon was still in the black light falling from the sky in the distance. As for the situation, it was not clear from the outside. Purple pupil eyes in the cold. Yunwu did not turn to see the direction of dragon, because she has the most important thing to do. And for dragon, she believes him. Her man will never let her down. Because I'll take your life first. There was no emotion in the cold voice. Before the voice fell, the delicate figure standing in front of the soldiers suddenly turned into a streamer, and disappeared in the same place. With a sneer and a cold Shangguanzhang retreats, and his black eyes stare at a certain direction of space quickly. As soon as he raises his hand, his black fighting spirit condenses into a black blade. Tear. There was a sudden sound in the air, just like the air being torn apart. The cold and fierce breath of Black Blade came to my face. At that moment, Shangguanzhong seemed to see the moment of tearing in the space, the scene that Yunwu was stabbed into the blood by his black blade, and his black eyes could not help but be stained with a touch of excitement. Can be excited to float on the fundus, not a second, instantly dissipated, in exchange for the pupil of the fierce contraction, with the body suddenly back a few steps. Whiz. An extremely cold silver arrow directly pierced the black blade. From that space, it shot head-on at Shangguanzhong and landed at the position where he just stood. Bang the arrow into the ground. At that moment, the smell of blood in the air was filled with a cold vapor. When Shangguanzhong saw the silver arrow clearly in front of him, his face almost changed for a moment, and his eyes flashed a shock of undercurrent. However, before he could finish what he said, whiz, behind him came the sound of tearing the air. Out of instinct, Shangguanzhong turned around in a hurry, but the next second, he turned pale and quickly took 2 steps back. Can't stop, completely can't stop a scent. And just above the position he was standing, a green arrow was inserted into the ground, and the green breath of life filled the air. The power of wood? Shangguanzhong's voice was hoarse again, and his eyes were staring at the 2 arrows on the ground. The power of water, the power of wood. In the beginning, one of the things that 10,000 beasts have been looking for. Now how can but just as the voice of Shangguanzhong had just fallen, a yellow arrow of qi came down from the sky, just inserted his body side 2 steps above. The air that the earth rolled from the breath diffuse and open. At that moment, if Shangguanzhong didn't understand what was going on, it was stupid. The body is also faster than the brain reaction. The upper body half covers the rag body, quickly toward the left side of the flash to escape something. But whiz. A blue arrow appeared out of thin air and directly attacked his forehead. Of course, Shangguanzhong's reaction was quick. His body brake back in time, and the blue arrow was just an inch in front of his toe. As soon as the 4 arrows landed and gathered together, the breath of the earth between heaven and earth set off earth-shaking changes. The bloody battlefield, which was originally covered with dark clouds, suddenly gave rise to the vitality of long drought and rainy days. The rain was fragrant, the wind was blowing slowly, and the vegetation on the earth was growing. The light of vitality permeates the whole space and gradually devours the original dark power. At that moment, an invisible force directly imprisoned Shangguanzhong from the circle of 4 arrows. Yes, it's imprisonment. Just like the dragon before, at the moment when the 4 arrows gathered, his consciousness was very clear, but his body was completely like a puppet, unable to move. 4. The power of nature is the only killer of his power. But why didn't Shangguanzhong expect that Yunwu had 4 forces of nature? Because it's been a long time since this battle. Why hasn't she used it before? Not to mention that he didn't think of it. Even Cloud Dance didn't think of it at the beginning, because all she could get along the way were the power of earth, water, wood and nature. As for the last force of the wind, if it wasn't for Bai Lao's awakening, she might not find it in her life. If we can't find the power of the 4 natures, the power of the 3 natures is still useless for this Shangguanzhong. That's why the hostess didn't think of the 3 forces of nature from the beginning. However, when she knew what the last wind power and the so-called sorcerer holy things were, she was not surprised but a little sad. The power of the wind is the ancient necklace she wears around her neck. As for the sacred thing of the witch family, it is Bai Lao. It's true that Bai Lao's Numenon is not a spirit at all, but when the witches got the power of the wind, they injected the most primitive essence of the witches into the power of the wind. The inner seal of the necklace was printed, so as to leave a way for the future witches. However, with the practice of time and the change of witch clan, this matter is gradually blurred and forgotten. As time goes by, the original spirit of the sorcerer family in the necklace gradually begins to condense wisdom, and even forms a human form, with wisdom that can be used alone spirit. Maybe it's too long. Bai Laozhao has forgotten his roots. He only knows that he can only live in deep sleep in thousands of years. During this period, he was awakened once, and the knowledge he absorbed was probably at that time. Later, when Yunwu awakened him, he naturally thought that he was the spirit in the sorcerer's sacred objects. What was the sorcerer's sacred object? If it's not a necklace, he doesn't remember it. But this time the deep sleep awakening, I do not know why, by Lao actually from the fundamental awakening. His noumenon was originally the essence of the sorcery, and his existence was to be the last way left by the sorcery when he had to. And this way back, if it is for this girl, he accepts it. Girl, don't delay. Let's go. In a virtual space, I don't know when the old man with white beard appeared next to Yunwu. He looked at Yunwu, who was obviously murderous but hesitant, and said in a kind voice, he knows what she hesitates about. However, for him, in these thousands of years, there is no regret that someone who makes him feel worthy has appeared. Cloud Dance turns his head and looks at the white old man floating around him. It's fake that he doesn't suffer. The originally cold purple pupil can't help reddening. Is there nothing else to replace? In this war, the important people around her have sacrificed too much. When Bai Lao heard the words, he raised his mouth with a smile, which was as comfortable as before. However, listening to Cloud Dance, he felt that his heart was oppressed. Girl, you should know the answer very well. What's the matter? At the beginning, that heartless cold-blooded girl. Today will come to sentimental crying. Although he said that, Bai Lao was still warm. He is not a human, not a beast. Although he has wisdom, he does not feel much about life and death. But at this time he is reluctant to give up. But this does not give up, is right in front of this wench. Girl, I'm a group of primitive wizard elites. For me, there is no life and death at all. But if you are hesitating, the one below, you don't know how long it will last. After working hard for such a long time, don't be cruel to me. Cruel? Yes, she can kill people without changing her face. She can be cold-blooded and merciless. However, she is also a human being, a mortal with blood, tears and passions. She really can't kill Bai Lao, who is also a teacher and friend herself. However, Bai Lao, who had seen this for a long time, did not wait for Yunwu to speak. Instead, after finishing the last sentence, he turned into a wisp of white smoke and penetrated into the center of the woman's eyebrows. Girl, I'll call you for the last time, girl. Don't be sad and don't hesitate. I didn't do it for the witches, but only for you. I'm very satisfied that I can do it for you in the end. The last sound is almost inaudible. Yunwu's body is stiff in the space, his hands can't help holding tightly on both sides, and his nails are deeply trapped in the palm of his hand. But she didn't say anything. Not a word. With the feeling of the surging power between the eyebrows, Yunwu's eyes closed tightly. When he opened his eyes again, the coldness of his eyes had returned. Thank you. 2 words later, her figure disappeared in the void. And no one knows, in the shadow of the disappearance of the location, leaving only a drop of ice like tears, forever preserved in this space. Boom! Just out of the outside world, the sky above a burst of thunder rumble, generally spread. And Shangwenshong, trapped by the 4 forces of nature, is trying to break through. Especially after watching the cloud dancing from the void, I feel a little anxious. I always feel that there is something wrong with the atmosphere. The cloud dances and stands in the air, looking down at the Shangwenshong and the 4 forces of nature below. Apart from being cold, the purple pupil's eyes are not half as murderous as before. It's as if he can't arouse her anger in front of her now, or even give people a strange feeling that he doesn't deserve to cause her any emotion. Shangwenshong, it's all over. A very light and cold sentence, a really light voice. People who don't know think she is chatting with old acquaintances. But this time Shangwenshong turned pale. Did she get the witch relic? Although, up to now, Shangwenshong didn't know exactly what the sorcerer's sacred object was, at this time, looking at the cloud dance, he was inexplicably sure that she had got the sorcerer's sacred object. Shangwenshong, the immortal body, can't be killed even if it's the little lord of the evil family. But the only thing that can kill him is the holy thing of the witch family. Otherwise, when the witch clan was destroyed, he would not have done those things. But now you can't kill me. Shangwenshong suddenly opened his mouth and tried to shout. Although the body can't move, it can speak. Yunwu, you can't kill me, because only I know your mother's whereabouts, and only I can prevent that dragon from betraying her evil spirit. No need. However, before the Shangwenshong had finished speaking, the cold voice had fallen. No need? This answer completely stunned Shangwenshong. He didn't want to save her mother? Don't want to save the dragon? Don't you want to know what happened to the witches? However, Shangwenzhong will never understand that the constant sacrifice of her friends and relatives seems to have cut shocking wounds in her heart. That is a kind of pain that can never be healed, but this kind of injury is because of such a person. That kind of anger and killing intention cannot be expressed in any language. But when the pain keeps up with the wound and reaches a climax, it will produce a strange calm, which seems to have reached a stage beyond anger and any emotion. However, in peace, she just wanted to destroy that person forever in this world. Because only in this way, she would feel that the sadness in her heart could be relieved. Let it all be over. Buzz. Above the sky, on the petite body, a white light from the inside gradually began to cover half of the sky, just like the god came into the world. Above the ground, almost all the flowers and trees are withering, but the colorful elements begin to condense around the petite figure. The power of 7 elements in the air is emptied in the whole space. There was no fluctuation, but at that moment, Shangwenzhong felt the smell of death. Fourth, the captivity of the force of nature, no matter how he wants to struggle, is unable to escape. The cloud dances and purple eyes coldly overlook Shangwenzhong, and the slender hands reach out to brush it. The illusory color light, like a bright color beam, comes out from her fingertips in an instant. 2 fingers of the beam, clearly such a small light, but in the moment of attack, with a lightning speed, so that the bright light with a kind of creepy death rising from the bottom of my heart. Click. As the bright light goes straight into the 4 forces of nature, the pillars of light formed by the 4 forces of nature quickly crack. In the light column, Shangwenzhong looks pale and scared as white paper. At the moment when the 4 forces of nature split, he would not hesitate to destroy himself, but also protect the last trace of life to escape from the captivity of the 4 forces of nature. But at that moment, the 4 forces of nature seem to merge with that force and split in the same place. Boom! In the blink of an eye, there was a huge explosion, which seemed to contain the most powerful energy body. The hill where Shangwenzhong was located was directly leveled to the ground. After the end of the bright light, the white light did not disperse, but followed by a strange explosion. Bang bang! With the sound of the bang, the white light gradually became bloody and bloody. Go on. The 4 protective pillars of nature's power shrouded in that area were all destroyed and fragmented in an instant. Poof! With the complete breaking of the light column, the aftershocks of that force spread in all directions. Those soldiers who had seen something wrong and immediately backed away, or the remaining strong members of the 10,000 Beast sect, all turned red, and then spat out blood. For a time, on the battlefield where the original smell of blood was replaced by the breath of life, it was once again dyed red by blood. And the smell of blood rose to the sky. But it's the blood of a different killing. At this moment, all of them were suffering from the pain caused by the strong power, and all of them were staring at the location of Shangwenzhong, where the blood light was fading away. Oh, suck. When the color of the blood faded and the place that had been razed to the ground was clearly seen, the people first breathed, and then took a breath. I saw, in that position, Shangwenzhong face unchanged, body no wound good stand in that position. It was as if, just after the explosion of that force, it had no effect on him at all. It's strange that people are not surprised to be short of breath. Cannot wait for everyone to take a breath, but see that intact Shangwenzhong, by a wisp of breeze, out of thin air quickly into powder. Yes. It's like the dust is piled up. The wind blows gently, and the dust flies away a whole tall figure, in the breeze in the moment into powder scattered. What is the concept of Shangwenzhong, which makes all people despair and fear, when it turns into powder in full view of the public? There is no concept. At the moment after they took a breath, they were surprised, then delighted, and finally cried and laughed. Almost those who sing Beijing opera don't have the scene that people will change their faces. The excitement and joy in my heart can't be described with any words. Sobbing, howling, laughter, cry and laugh. In an instant, the whole battlefield can be heard. At that moment, all the pain, surprise, happy, even sad cry, all released. At that moment, there was no soldier bleeding without tears, no man, no indomitable spirit. Yes, only the mood of victory. Death of relatives, death of companions, Death of comrades in arms, it's all in my mind. When we finally get this moment, what we have changed in our heart can't be described by words. We can only use the most primitive human cry, laugh and howl to vent. In the chaos of weeping and laughing, people were calm in their hearts for a moment, and seemed to forget the figure still in the air. Cloud dance. At this time, the beautiful face looked at all the people on the ground, looked at the powder of Shangguansong, looked at the dead bodies, and even looked at the bodies of her close relatives along the way. Shangguan, Nanganji, praying for the night, Mengbai, Muxiaming, Situlan. The sadness of that grief is not diluted by any joy. If she could, she would rather trade herself for the lives of her companions. However, to kill Shangguansong, we need to gather the strength of the four natures, and then we need to use her own body as the carrier to give play to the power of the sorcerer's holy things. And this carrier needs to bear too much power than itself, so the damage is absolutely there. Her present situation is that her whole body's internal organs seem to have been crushed by too strong force, and her body can't even stand in the void. In the crowd's crying, laughing and wailing, her body seemed to be no longer able to support, falling with the air. Hoo-hoo. The body falls like a cliff, the wind is whistling in the ear, the clouds are dancing, the eyes are closed, and the corner of the eyes is scratched with tears. It's over at last. When I fall to the ground, I may be going to accompany those companions, or at least I won't be lonely. But a face flashed in my mind, that long evil spirit handsome face, the heart of a fierce contraction. From the realization to the shameless face, to the company all the way, to the deep love, it seems that in the end, she had not said those 3 words to him. I don't know why, maybe she felt the last moment. She suddenly felt that everything seemed not very important. If she wants to love him, marry him, have a baby with him, and grow old with him. However, is it extravagant? The corner of the mouth raised a smile arc, but that smile is uglier than cry. Silly woman, laugh out loud if you want to laugh. What does it look like to cry and laugh? Ear suddenly sounded a low magnetic sound. Then, before Yunwu opened his eyes, he felt that his waist was held by a pair of powerful arms and brought into a strong chest. Then the cool and familiar masculine breath came to my nose, and I felt a warm and soft touch on my lips. A very warm and dark air was sent into her body with the smell of blood from her mouth. It was already in a mess. After the air and the smell of blood entered her body, she began to repair. However, after a serious look, we can see that after the repair, there is another force to protect and repel the dark power to repair her. Cloud Dance slowly opened his eyes. When he saw the familiar handsome face, the corner of his mouth raised up, some powerless hand touched his face. You're out. Long Qingxia looked at her, nodded and said gently, it's a little late to come out. It makes you suffer. Yunwu shakes his head with a smile, and his bloodless lips touch the thin lips of Long Qingxia again. It's not too late. It's just right. I've always forgotten to say a word to you. I love you, Long Qingxia. I really love you. I'm satisfied to meet you in my life. Long Qingxia's body was shocked, and he put his arm around her for a few minutes. However, Yunwu didn't have a chance to hear his reply, because just after she said that, the 2 forces in her body seemed to burst out completely. Poof! After a mouthful of blood gushed from her mouth. The darkness had attacked her consciousness. Long Qingxia's face was bloodless, his eyes were red, and his arms around the little woman in his arms were shaking for a few minutes, and his heart was always in pain. He knew that at this moment, he would send his own power into her body to lift her to heal, which would surely cause the power of witchcraft in her body to bite back. This kind of backfire may directly kill her. But he had to. Her body bears the power of the witch family, and her internal organs have been damaged. In addition, her injured body has no ability to repair itself. His blood has almost been awakened, and her strength has become an extreme rebuke. There is no way to help her repair. She's going to die, the real one. So he has only one way. A bet. I know you haven't completely disappeared. I beg you, help her. For the first time, Long Qingxia spoke in such a humble voice. Now the only thing that can save her is that she still has some holy things in her body. He had awakened more than half of his blood, and the information he got was beyond the understanding of the people. He knew that the holy things of the witch family were the most primitive essence of the witch family, and that essence was the foundation of the witch family. Over time, he believes that even a group of essence will form his own wisdom. However, he did not know whether the essence of wisdom was willing to use the last bit of residual force, because once the last remaining essence is used, it will really disappear. But it was the only chip he could bet on. When his original power is sent into the body of Yunwu, it will certainly arouse the residual witchcraft power in her body, and that is the only way to wake up the residual witchcraft holy things. But the chance of the chip he bet on was very slim. I'm afraid his guess is wrong, and I'm afraid that little bit of chips will be lost. He couldn't imagine what he would be like without her. Really, I can't imagine, but his plea did not cause any movement, and the cloud dance in his arms. His face has changed from pale to gray, breathing has gradually stopped. Long Qingxia looks at the woman in his arms. The pain in his heart is unimaginable. He hugs her hand unconsciously, and almost rubs her into his body. The long and narrow golden eyes were full of horrible blood. The tears in his eyes almost blurred his vision. But his eyes didn't dare to leave the little face in his arms for a second. Slender fingertips, very gently stroked her small cheek. Little by little described her brow, corner of the eye, tip of the nose, and finally stayed on her lips without blood. Did I lose? These 4 words, as if he stuck out from the depth of his throat, were full of hoarseness that could not be expressed in words. However, after he didn't see any change at last, Long Qingxia felt sad that he had lost. It's a complete loss. In the air, something seems to be changing. The vitality between heaven and earth has gradually dissipated, and the breath of darkness is accompanied by a seemingly endless sadness. At that moment, all the crying and laughing in the battlefield seemed to suddenly feel something, and all stopped. Even the remaining evils of the beast sect, even the most heartless people, feel the sadness in the air. It seems that people can feel the heat in their eyes and the sadness in their heart. At that moment, people seemed to see the cloud dance in the dragon's evil arms. At that moment, the whole battlefield was silent. However, at that moment, almost everyone's eyes were red and their fists were clenched, but there was no so-called roar, no so-called crying. Yes, it's just that even heaven and earth can feel sadness and cover the sky. The wind is blowing and the thunder is ringing. Heavy rain, but also under the drip up. But no one paid any attention to it. The whole battlefield, whether standing or lying injured, was facing the direction of cloud dancing in the arms of Dragon Qingxia in the heavy rain. Their red eyes were not sure whether they were wet by the heavy rain or the tears, and they were all looking at the 2 figures together. Mississippi. Chief. Master. In the tens of thousands of battles, the soldiers and killers made by cloud dance, with red eyes, clenched fists and trembling bodies, finally could not help but cry and kneel on their legs with almost a clatter. The young lady they adore, the leader they look forward to, the master they are willing to be loyal to all their lives, but in the face of those howls, the dragon seems very calm. For a long time, his bloody golden eyes slowly left the small white face. Finally, he slowly raised his head and quietly looked at all the people present. Finally, look at Shangguan and others. Since I lost the bet, I'll accompany you so that you won't be lonely. Murmuring, as if it were natural. But the next second, the dark air suddenly a shock. A black light suddenly began to condense from his body quickly. Instant time, see a black light ball from his body scattered. He wants to blow himself up. Among the dragon people, when they understand the reaction, their faces change and they shout. Self-explosion? It's strange that people are not surprised or shocked to hear this. The Beast Gate has been completely destroyed, and even the largest Shangguan tomb has been destroyed. At this moment, it's time to start a good life. Does the dragon want to die for his evil? However, after the war, most people can see the pair of Yunwu and Longqingxi. However, people never thought that they would see dragon with their own eyes and choose to die for love. This kind of life and death is also accompanied by feelings. Not everyone will understand. Perhaps some people will say that it is stupid for a man to die for a woman. But at this moment, people's hearts are only shocked with a smile on his lips. Long Qingxia's handsome and charming face didn't lose its color in the heavy rain. The black light covered him, and the clouds in his arms. At the moment when he felt that the spirit power in his body had gathered to the top and was about to burst, the dragon leaned down gently, and his thin lips were kissing the cold lips of Cloud dancing. Perhaps, others will never realize the pain of the whole heart being hollowed out when Dragon Qingxia loses Cloud dance. In his life, he is not satisfied when he gets the world, or satisfied when he becomes the strongest, but because of her he feels that his world is satisfied and completely satisfied. He couldn't imagine how he would live without her? Crazy. Perhaps he is not only crazy, he may be more abnormal than Shangguancong. Perhaps he could not help destroying the so-called world saved by them. Therefore he would rather go with her. Even in hell the black light continued to expand and burst as if in the next second. But at the moment when it was about to burst, a white light suddenly flew from the black light. It was very fast. In a twinkling of an eye, it turned into a barrier to cover the black light that was about to burst. This sudden change naturally shocked the people who were in shock. What's the situation? Within the black light of the white light barrier, the two body images are in the same vacuum space, and the body floats in mid-air. However, even though it was floating, the dragon's arms were still tightly around the clouds in his arms. Boy, although I was in direct contact with you for the first time, I watched you from the beginning. I didn't expect that you would be willing to explode for this girl. An old voice came slowly in the black light. When he heard that voice, Dragon Qingxia's body was shocked, and his blood eyes looked around at the black light. At last, he stayed on the figure which was gradually solidified by the white light. The shadow of the white light was so thin that it could not see any features except the figure in front of it. It's the last bit of which essence left. Long Qingxia knows this very well, because his blood is only a little short of awakening, and he knows too much information in his mind. Help her. Long Qingxia didn't say much. Looking at Bai Lao, he just said these 3 words. White old body shadow is very thin, can't see what his expression is, but his old voice seems to take a smile like, save her. You should be very clear that your self-explosion can't stop now. No matter whether she is alive or dead, you will self-explode and die. Are you sure you want me to save her? Self-explosion can't be stopped by anyone in the end. Long Qingxia's sexy thin lips are slightly raised, and her blood eyes are slightly lowered to look at the clouds in her arms. Her fingertips are very gentle. After caressing her cheek, she looks up at Bai Lao directly. You wait until now. Isn't that what you want to see? What does he want to see? To tell you the truth, although I can't see Bai Lao's expression, Long Qingxia obviously feels the slight fluctuation of his body. So save her. Long Qingxia spoke seriously. He was willing to accompany her to hell, but if he could, he would not let her accompany him to hell. I see your current situation. Your blood should have almost awakened. Then you should be very clear. You and she, sooner or later, are not the same people. White old and didn't immediately do what action, but light like mouth said. But Long Qingxia smiles and looks at Bai Lao inexplicably. Isn't it a group of people? What kind of people do you think you should be? My blood is almost awakened, and there is enough information pouring into my mind, which makes me know a lot about the so-called rules and destiny in the world. At this point, Long Qingxia pauses for a moment, and then continues to say with a sneer, however, in my eyes, it's just made up by some pretentious people who call themselves gods, who want to manipulate people. Life is their own. I will only follow the way I want to go. She is my love. Then I will only love at all costs. To love at all costs? Bai Lao's voice was a little confused. However, Long Qingxia did not answer, but bowed his head and looked at Yunwu deeply, as if he wanted to remember her deeply at last. Then, with his arms loosened, he sent her in the direction of Bai Lao. If she wakes up, please wash away her memory. Yunwu is an affectionate person. If she wakes up and finds that she and all her companions are dead, and even her close relatives don't exist, I'm afraid she can't bear it. And he is reluctant to give up, so, would rather she forget him, forget all this, don't say how great he is, he just can't bear it. After saying that, Long Qingxia's body suddenly retreated, intending to stay away from her as far as possible at the moment of self-explosion. He didn't know whether the after-effects of his self-explosion would hurt her. Also don't know that remnant last strength of white old can protect her. But Long Qingxia didn't seem to notice that the cloud dance, which had been sent to Bai Lao's position and was out of breath, had slipped down a drop of crystal tears from the corner of his closed eyes. Yes, Yunwu's breathing has stopped and his pulse has stopped. However, man is the most unpredictable creature in the world. What's more, the cloud dance that had already died once, and that drop of tears, as if by the force of floating around, did not disperse, but condensed into a drop of small crystal, floating in the air, flashing silver. Surrounded by the black light, the tear is so precious and abrupt. Bai Lao stretched out his thin palm, and saw that the tear fell into his heart like a conscious one. And all the memories and sorrows of Yunwu seemed to condense into tears. Bai Lao looked down at the girl who made him the only one who didn't give up his love. A helpless sigh sounded in the border. Ah, girl, I don't know if your persistence will hurt you in the future. I hope you don't regret it. That sound. Also don't know he is to say with that cloud dance, or oneself talk to oneself. I saw that in the moment when his words fell. His thin body turned into a mist and dispersed. In an instant, several white lights shot out of the air and shot on the ground, praying for the night, and so on as long as it's on the person in the memory. Under the white light, the source of endless life seems to fall from the sky. The flowers and trees are withered all around. Under the white light, the plants and trees are springing up quickly, such as the sky down forward, the strange scene, not to mention the shock of all the people present. And also at that moment, the black light Nilong, who quickly pulled himself away, was suddenly shot by a white light from his eyebrows. The body, which had been torn apart, was under the white light, as if it had been sealed by force. The burst breath gradually calmed down. That girl is much stronger than you think. This is her choice. I can only do it for her in the end. The power of self-explosion condenses in your body. I will use the last power to seal for you temporarily, but it doesn't mean that I can seal forever. But you don't have to worry, because I sense that the last awakening of your blood is coming. When your blood really wakes up, it will naturally dissolve the power of self-explosion. But don't blame me for not reminding you that after your blood wakes up, your position will be completely different from hers, and the seal I set in your body will be transformed into a brand of which clan. If you are in the future one day, when you really stand against her, it will be. The last words, weak, become inaudible, but Long Qingxia knew what he was going to say, but he would never let that happen. I don't know how long it took. As the white light faded away, people from all walks of life in the whole battlefield all forgot to breathe. They all stared at the location where the white light disappeared. What is resurrection from the dead? Perhaps at this moment, people can really see it. Shangguan, Situlan, Nangong, people who suddenly wake up from the darkness have a blank in their mind, and they don't know what happened before. However, people's eyes soon fell on the clouds that were floating in the air, and their bodies were still emitting white light. At that moment, everyone thought that the white light was the work of cloud dance. Everyone can't help but be shocked. Isn't Yunwu dead? How on earth did she do it? But more people also noticed that the original self-exploding dragon's evil spirit had calmed down at this time, and the transformation of the aura was also formed after the white light. What's the concept? Perhaps there is no concept, but shock, confusion, and respect rising from the bottom of my heart. Of course, those present can't be so stupid as to think that if cloud dance can revive Shangguan and others, it can also revive their close relatives or brothers and comrades in arms. Don't say it's impossible. Even if it's possible, it's not easy to consume the power and special power needed to revive people. What's more, it seems that Yunwu is not optimistic. However, I'm afraid this legend will spread from now on. The moment Long Qingxia's voice disappeared in his mind, his body was faster than his consciousness, and he went to Yunwu's side in a flash. Then Yunwu seemed to be sleeping. When she felt her tiny breath, Long Qingxia seemed relieved, and the pale face couldn't help but hook the corners of her mouth, and the bloody golden eyes gradually turned black. Almost a little, I really lost you. Murmuring and whispering seems very relaxed, but when you look at it carefully, you will find that his arms around her are shaking unconsciously, and his pale face still can't fade. It's really close. Thinking of that, Long Qingxia felt that his heart was still empty and terrible. The only thing he wanted to do was to hold her carefully, but tightly in his arms. Only when he held her tightly, It seemed that the empty pain in his heart could be relieved a little. As for the people and things outside, it seems that everything has nothing to do with him. Shangguan, pray for the night, Nanganji, Situlan and so on, at least the head blank after a stick of incense, just slowly reaction recovery. The feeling of rebirth after death is not easy to say, but they don't know what that feeling is. I only know that there are some fragments in my mind, but they don't know whether they are real or illusory. However, when they were relieved, they generally understood that Shangguanshong had been destroyed. At this time, what people were worried about was the cloud dance in a coma. But Long Qingxia, or anyone close to her, even Yun Qi and Yun Lingyi are no exception. Seeing that Long Qingxia is still in some kind of tension, Yun Qi and others can only compromise and do not disturb him for the time being. And this war, which shocked several circles, has finally come to an end. Long Qingxia didn't pay attention to the rest of the little battle, and the ending. At dawn, when the sun rises in the east, a new day finally comes. Master Situ, thanks to you this time, we can get rid of the Beast Gate successfully. If you need it in the future, please come to Huasher town to find us. As long as we can help, we will help. Huading took all the people in Huoshishi town to stand in front of Situlan and others and said, "You're welcome." Situlan hugged his fist and said, "Be careful all the way." Huating nodded, then said goodbye to everyone one by one, and took the people from Huoshishi town to leave here. Young Xia Situ, we Phoenix people went back first. Feng Huangnu came over and said, "This war has wasted a lot of energy. There are still many things to deal with in the clan. She can't stay and wait for her to wake up." She, of course, means cloud dance. However, young Xia Situ, please bring a word to Xiaoqiu, that is, I, as a mother, will support what he wants to do, so I don't have to worry about my family anymore. In other words, she and the Phoenix family have completely agreed to his contractual relationship with Yunwu. What does Little Stink mean to the Phoenix family? Situlan and others naturally know. Unexpectedly, she is a mother who can let go. But for Feng Huingv, people can't help but look at each other with a new look. After all, at the beginning, Xiao Smelly and Yunwu had made a contract. Even if she didn't agree in her heart, she couldn't help it. But now she is so serious and frank, I think she really made a decision. It's not easy for a mother. Because of the contractual relationship, once the female owner goes into a coma, they will automatically return to the space to sleep. Well, I'll take care of it all the way. Situlan nodded and said, "Goodbye in the future." Another group of people left. Then, the dragon, Iceland, the top of the desert, people from all over the world came to say goodbye one by one. Of course, people from all tribes were concerned about Yunwu's injuries, and left a few people. Once they got news, they would get it immediately. The army of tens of thousands of people was gradually dispersed. Situlan and others naturally know that this battle can be said to be the end of life. Both the human world and the upper world have been greatly affected. When 100 wastes are waiting for prosperity, these people have to go back to rebuild their homes. By the time everyone was gone, it was the next afternoon. But Yunwu is still in a coma and doesn't wake up. After Long Qingxia has finally recovered, Mu Xiaoming gets permission to come near Yunwu and diagnose for her. However, Yunwu's body is not seriously injured, and her internal organs are slowly repairing with her deep sleep. There is no danger. But in order to make people feel at ease, Mu Xiaoming also tried to help Yunwu with his own yuan power to regulate the speed of spirit power. This will speed up the repair in her body. A little bit of time passed, until late at night, Mu Xiaoming finally stopped the action on his hand, and walked out on the soft cushion. "How's it going?" As soon as Mu Xiaoming came out, Long Qingxia asked. "Don't worry, she is no longer in danger. She can wake up after a rest," Mu Xiaoming said, looking a little tired and pale. Long Qingxia nodded and said, "Take a rest, be careful." "No harm." Mu Xiaoming waved his hand. "I'm wasting too much." "It's okay. Just trim it a little bit. You keep it. If you have any problems, please call me immediately." Several people nodded one after another, but after knowing that it was okay, their hearts relaxed a little. The waiting continued until the next night, when Yunwu finally opened her eyes from a coma. In the dark room, It was very quiet. Yunwu lay on the bed with his eyes open for a long time, and then he remembered what had happened. The war is over. But Yunwu narrowed his eyes and thought about it for a long time. He thought about the last battle with Shangguanzhong, the cheers of victory, the blood flowing on the battlefield, and White Old Man. Yunwu looks pale. In her vague memory, she seemed to see what Bai Lao had done for her at last. Every point made Yunwu's heart ache unconsciously. In my mind there are several voices at the same time. I really want to see that day, the day when the Beast Gate is destroyed, but I can't see it. I believe you will be able to rebuild the Cloud home. The voices of Xiao Mu and Shiting seemed to ring in their ears, and scenes flashed in front of their eyes. Yunwu didn't feel any joy from the victory of the war in his heart, but his heart seemed to be held tightly and suffocated. Bai Lao, Xiao Mu, Shiting, the war is over, do you see? Cloud Dance will cover the arm and the eyes, with a bit choked said. Tears from the corner of the eye silent slide. Crunch dash, the door was pushed open without warning, then came a surprise voice. Little fellow, are you awake? Long Qingxia quickly carried the medicine bowl to Yunwu's side. In the dim candlelight, he still noticed the tears on her face. Heart-pumping pain for a while. It is full of her with heartache. After Cloud Dance obliterates casually, only then turns the head to look at him. Lets him support to sit up. What is this? The rich fragrance of the medicine penetrated into the nostrils, and the Cloud danced faintly. Medicine. Although Mu Xiaoming said that she was no longer in serious trouble. After all, the internal organs were crushed and repaired, and the human body still needed to be conditioned. It's about conditioning the body. With that, Long Qingxia handed the medicine bowl to her mouth, and carefully fed her to drink. Medicine soup into the body, instantly turned into a pure medicine, was absorbed by the Cloud. For the body just repaired, the effect of medicine soup is much better than Dan medicine, but Yunwu's mind is not on it. And they naturally refer to Shangguan and others. Although it seems that I can see what Bai Lao finally did for her in my mind, the uneasiness and grief in my heart can never be cured without hearing it. They're good. It saved us with its last resort. Long Qingxia's voice answered her gently. It refers to Bai Lao. Can think of that scene at that time. At that time almost a little bit to lose her scene, but he still can't help but fear secretly tremble. The arm around her hand, unconscious force a few minutes. Yunwu naturally felt that when he looked up at him, he caught the color of fear from his eyes. She knew what he was afraid of, because at the last moment she had that feeling. Have you been? Well. Dragon Qingxia light answer. Put the medicine bowl aside. Another will hold her in his arms, deeply buried in the cloud of the neck. Smell the smell from the tip of the nose. Long Qingxia only felt the fear of these 2 days, and finally calmed down a little. If you don't wake up, I'm not at ease. In fact, he wanted to say that he was afraid that she would not wake up, that he would lose her again, and that all this was a dream therefore. In the past 2 days he hardly closed his eyes. Cloud dance in the heart of a move, just now also depressed, sad in the heart of an instant surge of a touch of moving. God treats her well. Although he has given her a lot of hardships and taken away so much from her. In the end, there are still people around him. Yunwu thought about it, and suddenly he was worried about other people. Grandfather, Shangguan, Mu Xiaoming, Xiaoqiu, how long have I been in a coma? What about the others? Are all those armies in order? There are also people coming to support. Yunwu talked a lot, but from the beginning to the end, he didn't dare to mention something about Bai Lao. And this Long Qing evil all see in the eye, understand in the heart, so also pretend not to know. You've been in a coma for 3 days, and everyone is okay. You're the one with the most serious injury. Originally, everyone wanted to stay and watch you, but Mu Xiaoming said that after everyone died and came back to life, they all need to rest, so they began to work shifts. What Long Qingxia didn't say is that no matter whose turn it is, he must accompany Yunwu and watch Yunwu wake up with his own eyes. The Yin family army and the killer regiment have been reorganized. Gao Yu is in charge. He will report when you are well hurt. All the reinforcements have left. Just after the war, they have more things to deal with. A lot of changes have taken place in the upper world. In the past 3 days, news has been coming. Everything is being rebuilt. The Beast Gate no longer exists. From now on, we can all live a good life. In the quiet night and the dark room, Long Qingxia slowly talks about the changes in the past 3 days. The warm and magnetic voice flows slowly like the moonlight, expelling all the bad aspects in Yunwu's heart. Early the next morning, the first thing after everyone wakes up is to go to Yunwu's room to see if she wakes up. Yunwu came out first before they came in. Little 5. You are awake, Shengguan said pleasantly. I didn't expect that what Mu Xiuming said was so accurate. He just said you must be awake. Mengbai's sharp eyes found that both of them came out of the room. He couldn't help smiling and came close to Long Qingxia's side. He asked in a low voice, Don't be a beast if you are alone in a room? Xiaowu has just recovered from a serious illness. I don't know if I have experienced the war and the resurrection. Cherishing the present has become the most instinctive thing in people's hearts. In addition, after waking up from the follow-up information of some soldiers, we know the sacrifice of Yunwu and the situation that Long Qingxia chose to die for Yunwu. At that time, the shock in people's hearts was no less than what they saw with their own eyes. And along the way, the feelings between the two people are not bit by bit in the eye. Now all the dust has finally settled, and after such twists and turns, it is not easy to have the present situation. Maybe something will start to happen. Long Qingxia's eyebrows jumped and resisted the impulse to beat him. Did he look like a beast? Last night, he was just pure sleeping with her all night. However, Mengbai's words just remind him that now the Beast Gate has been removed. It seems that it's time to prepare another big event. One side of the cloud dance is chatting with you happily. Did not notice that Long Qingxia is looking at her thoughtfully at this time, thinking about whether or not to quickly set a wedding day. Chief Gao Yu and Leng Qingshui come forward, followed by some leaders of Yin Jiejun and Killer Corps. We are relieved to see you awake. Now your body should not be tired, but there are many things to do in the human world, especially the reconstruction of Cloud Home. So we want to go back to deal with it first, and then go back when the leader's injury is healed. How about that? Through life and death, we all admire and follow their master and leader. Cloud Dance nodded. The consideration is comprehensive. I just have something to do. I'm afraid to delay some time. The post-war things to you. After cleaning up her mood, it's time for her to fulfill her promise. Don't worry, Chief. Gao Yu said, then turned around and left with the crowd. Xiaowu, you just wake up. You can't be too tired. Go back to rest as soon as possible. I'll get you some medicine to help you recover, said Mu Xiuming. Long Qingxia, you also go to have a rest. You are tired these days. Are we so many people afraid that we can't take care of her alone? Long Qingxia just wanted to say something, but he didn't want Cloud Dance. He nodded and said yes and agreed for him. Therefore, he can only go back to his room under the eyes of the public. Perhaps, I have been in a tense state of mind and body from beginning to end, plus I haven't closed my eyes for a few days, so I woke up after a full day and night of rest. After waking up, he immediately went to the cloud room. Until he saw her safe existence, he would be secretly relieved. It seems that the fear at the bottom of his heart can't be completely relieved in a moment. Finally, 7 days later, Yunwu's body was completely recuperated. On this day, late at night, the dragon slipped into the room where the clouds were dancing. When she saw that, she knew he was coming early in the morning, and was sitting by the bed waiting for him. Long Qingxia was stunned. However, it is still not taboo to go, sat beside her, very naturally reached out to her arms. You know I'm coming? Well, Yunwu nodded gently and leaned in his arms at ease. Because I'm waiting for you. Smell speech. Long Qing evil body inexplicably stiff for a while. As if didn't expect she would be such answer. She's waiting for him? How ambiguous words. Of course, more as the bottom of my heart gradually rise. Has been in the heart of the uneasiness seems to gradually recede. Cloud Dance. For the first time, he took her name so seriously. Since I met her, he either called her a little thing, or a little guy, a little nickname, and because of that he would feel that his address to her was special. However, it was the first time that she was called her name so seriously. This time, I almost lost you. Long Qingxia didn't wait for Yunwu to say anything. Instead, he talked to himself and chatted with her. I'm very afraid. That's something I've never been afraid of since I was born. He held her hand and tightened it for a few minutes, but his voice was inexplicably low and terrible. I was thinking at that time, if I lose you, how can I live? Maybe I'm more crazy than Shangguanzhang, or I can't help destroying the world you once existed in. But even so, my heart is empty and painful. Therefore, why he would rather choose to blow himself up is not because of how great he was, but because he was afraid, too afraid to face the day when he lost her. But it was at that moment that he really knew what she meant to him. Perhaps, some people will say that a man who seeks for a woman's life and death is too ridiculous to be ambitious. But he knew clearly at that moment that she was the whole world to him. If one day the world collapses, it will not exist. However, listening to his murmuring words, Yunwu felt that his heart was also tightening. At that moment before death, I cannot care about the world, but only he let her not give up, also only he let her heart ache. At that time, she said to herself that if she had a chance, she would like to tell him that she loved him, marry him, hold hands with him and grow old with him finally. Bai Lao gave them this opportunity, and the war was over. Therefore, she does not want to waste time in the obscure chase. She does not want to one day in the future to let himself regret. Long Qingxia. Yunwu sat up and turned to look at him seriously. Remember what I said to you at that time? At the moment when she felt her last moment. As soon as the dragon's heart beat, his eyes flickered and nodded. I admit that in terms of emotion, I'm not cool, low IQ, and I don't understand amorous feelings, so I don't plan to drag on like that. However, before Yunwu finished speaking, Long Qingxia suddenly put his hand on her mouth and interrupted what she wanted to say. I'm the man. 5 words, let Cloud dance some confused. What do you mean? Of course she knew he was a man. Looking at that little woman's confused expression, Long Qingxia couldn't help but smile. This reaction is really slower than other women. However, isn't this the characteristic of her Cloud dance when it belongs to women? Isn't it just her that makes him love so wholeheartedly and bitterly? Well, you silly woman, you should let me tell you something. Long Qingxia sighed, but the indulgence in his tone expanded infinitely. Smell speech, Cloud dance one lung. Is this male chauvinism? But really, in the heart but inexplicably some nervous blind jump up. Well, it's no wonder that in modern times, so many women would like the overbearing man. Indeed, it suddenly made her feel like a little woman. That you say. I don't know if I'm nervous. I stammer when I open my mouth. This opening, on the contrary, makes Cloud dance a little unnatural. Long Qingxia whispered a smile, and his eyes were covered with a trace of heat. I love you. 3 words. Let Cloud dance lung after. The corners of the mouth are not controlled to rise. She always thought that she didn't like the sweet talk of men, but when she met the half of her life, she found that just 3 words made her feel silly for a long time. When Yunwu reacts, Long Qingxia doesn't know when to get into her quilt, and she also sits beside him and leans in his arms. This Long Qingxia's palm gently stroked her face again and again, as if to treat the most precious treasure. The originally comfortable environment suddenly became ambiguous. I really love you. Long Qingxia looked at Cloud Dance's side face and murmured, and that sentence seemed to repeat what she finally said to him on that day. Less that sad, but more than a palpitation and warmth. Yunwu's cheek turns red. She clearly feels that men's sweet words are not reliable. But why do they sound more provocative than before? For a moment, she doesn't know how to pick them up. You. In fact, she wants to say that this man has not identified himself as his own man, and that he has never had a kiss before. But the more I think about it, with the Long Qingxia's hot eyes staring at her, my heart seems to have a heart attack, and the more I plop, the faster I plop. Long Qingxia didn't give her a chance to answer. As soon as she turned over, she pressed Yunwu on her body and kissed her red lips affectionately. For many days, the tension of the war and the relaxation after the end of it all turned into a strong friendship, as if there were no more burdens. I wish time would stop at this moment. Yunwu's heart beats very fast, and her rare shyness lingers in her heart. However, with the fit of her heart, she falls into this kiss for a moment, and they hold each other tightly. The temperature around is getting higher and higher. I don't know how long it took for Long Qingxia to finally let go of the people in his arms. He lies on Yunwu and looks down at her. Yunwu's cheeks were red and panting slightly. He looked even more tired than the war. A pair of bright eyes were covered with mist. His cheeks were red and shy. He looked more charming than usual. Long Qingxia lowered his head, lips gently fell on Cloud's face, and there was an irrepressible desire in his voice. "Little guy, let's get married." Yunwu was stunned. It took a long time to realize that it was a proposal, and Long Qingxia had already kissed him from the forehead to the neck, and there was a downward trend. When Yunwu finally reacts, she pushes the dragon away and looks at the man with wide eyes. "Are you proposing to me?" Long Qingxia gave a low smile, bit on the cloud-dancing clavicle, and said in a low voice, "Yes, if I can. I wish I could go back to the human world now and marry you tomorrow." Cloud Dance eat pain, and heard Dragon Qing evil words. Pick eyebrow of looking at him said, "Excuse." In fact, the man's mind she also more or less understand. Long Qingxia doesn't retort either. He holds the pair of hands in front of him who want to push himself away, and holds them on the top of Yunwu's head, seeing that the person under him can't move in his arms, but he just doesn't admit defeat. Long Qingxia just feels that his breath is tight, hard to swallow saliva, and bent down to say, "Yes, it is an excuse. I don't want to come step by step. I want to marry you as fast as I can, so that everyone in the world can know that you are mine." After that, Long Qingxia kisses the red lips who want to say something more impolitely. This kiss, even more intense than just now. At the beginning of Cloud Dance, there was still some sense, but later, it also completely sank in, and its hands didn't know when to let go. However, Yunwu didn't refuse anymore. She put her hands around Long Qingxia's neck. She loved him very much. She wanted to marry him and give him a baby. In this case, she didn't have to pretend that she didn't want to. Two people's bodies are close to each other. When Yunwu feels dizzy with the kiss, Long Qingxia suddenly gasps and separates from her. This time, Yunwu's eyes are also infected with strong feelings, and some even feel impatient because of the dragon's departure. In a trance, I heard the voice of Long Qingxia suppressing Yu Wang in my ear. "Little fellow, I don't want to wait any longer." "Well," Yunwu answered vaguely. Naturally, the man thought that he had agreed. Then he felt the dragon's evil body close to him again. Although he was in a daze, Yunwu still clearly felt the fire of a man. The next moment, Dragon Qingxia released a hand. With a wave of his hand, a black border enveloped the whole room. The golden array appeared on the ground. At this time, the whole room could not fly in. As soon as Yunwu opened his eyes in a daze, Long Qingxia's kiss fell directly on Yunwu's cheek, forehead and shoulder, a pair of big hands in the soft body around. A few will be those miscellaneous clothes all pulled down. The cloud dances, the heart beats, the cheeks turn red. Even after living two lives, but in the end is a woman, but also in front of his favorite man, there must be some shyness. At this time, Long Qingxia was looking down at her. In the dark, a pair of fiery eyes were bright and frightening. "Little fellow, if you don't want to, it's still time," Long Qingxia said in a hoarse voice, as if he had used great strength to restrain himself. Cloud Dance poof of a smile. The face is more gorgeous if peach blossom. In her heart, she knew that if there had not been the accident, they would have been married. So far, it will be delayed until now, but there are too many things happen later. Now the beast gate has been removed, and everything has been settled. Is there anything to avoid? Cloud Dance can't help but feel funny, but more moved in the heart. At the moment, Cloud Dance just don't do too endlessly, directly put his hand around the neck of Long Qingxia, forced to pull down. Then he suddenly kisses up, and answers his words with action. Dragon Qing evil alung, immediately after, but it is a burst of ecstasy and domineering, not polite response up. A night of spring breeze in the black border. 3 days later, the capital of the wood world. Yunwu stood in front of the sleeping Mu Huang's body, closed his eyes, hands constantly changing, a light constantly changing in the hands, and finally condensed into a flower of rattan. It was a part of the rattan flowers left when Shiding died. In order to exchange for the promise made to the wooden emperor, Yunwu left them. Now it's time to fulfill the promise. Standing behind Yunwu, they held their breath and watched Yunwu send the flower of rattan into the heart of the emperor. After the light finally melted into the body of the emperor, Yunwu slowly opened her eyes. Mu Huang, it's time to get up. As soon as the voice fell, everyone opened their eyes and looked at the sleeping Mu Huang. Mu Xiaoming clenched his fist nervously for fear that he would not succeed if he was not careful. After a moment, Mu Huang's eyelashes trembled. Then the eyes closed for a long time slowly opened. Father, with a choking voice, Mu Xiaoming immediately rushed forward and knelt down beside Mu Huang, sobbing with joy. Father Huang, you finally wake up, you finally wake up. People cannot help but have some emotion, looking at this scene. One after another think of their distant relatives, eager to grow wings to fly back. It took a long time for Mu Huang to recover his tomb-sweeping day. Looking at Mu Xiaoming kneeling in front of him, he could not help feeling. Yunwu turned around and said, "Let's go out first," to the people behind, then left the room together. After waiting outside for a long time, the door finally opened. Saw Mu Huang and Mu Xiaoming, two people slowly came out. And in front of Cloud Dance, Mu Huang actually slightly bent down. This is a great salute for a king of wood. Benefactor. The rebirth of the wood world this time depends on the help of Miss Yin Wu. On behalf of the whole wood world, I thank Miss Yin for her kindness. Cloud Dance eyebrow a wrinkly, neat turn round to avoid this one to bow body. The palm lightly supports then would emperor to lift up. Please don't be so polite. I won't get used to it. What's more, at the beginning, she also took the treasure of their wood world. She returned this time just to keep her promise. Since Miss Yunwu said so, I won't say it anymore. However, no matter what difficulties you may have in the future, just say it. I will never frown if I can do it. Mu Huang looked at Cloud Dance's face and said earnestly. Yunwu was not polite but said with a smile, I hope I can never ask for help from you again. This speech, everybody relax, smile. Yes, if you can live a happy life from now on, you will never have to ask for help from others. Long Qingxia put out his hand to embrace the Cloud Dance, and a touch of doting tenderness flashed across his eyes. He looked up at the Queen of I Wood and said, We have other places to go, so we don't have to stay anymore. Shall we? When Mu Xiaoming saw it, he quickly stepped forward. But the Cloud Dance of Clinker first said, You'd better stay. In the future, it is no longer an adventure. There are many things to do in the wood industry. We just go back to deal with our own affairs. There was a flash of loss in Mu Xiaoming's eyes, but he also understood that Yunwu was right. He could not help sighing. Alas, I just don't know how long it will take to see it. Dragon Qing Evil Mouth a Hook said, Don't worry, it won't be long. 3 months after the 7th day is a good day. Then please come to our wedding. What? Would Xiaoming shock said. Not only he, even other people are also stunned. Long Qingxia and Yunwu look at each other and smile, then turn around and leave. Next to the teleportation to the human world. Hello. You too. Wait a minute, Shangguan and his party are catching up with each other quickly, but they can't keep up with Yunwu. It didn't stop until it reached the transmission array. Shangguan gasped and asked, What's the matter with you two? To get married? Cloud Dance some funny said, We were going to get married. Now the beast gate has been destroyed. Naturally it's time to get married. As soon as this statement came out, people could not help looking at each other. Although they knew that she was telling the truth, the news still came too fast to digest. But what are you going to do? Follow us home? Or, Cloud Dance picked eyebrow to say. I'm going home, of course. Qi Yi said. But I will go to the wedding, until my business is finished. Nangong Yi didn't speak, but his identity was special, so he wanted to go home. As for Situlan, it's time to go back and have a look. Shangguan shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't care. I plan to go around. When you get married, I will go ahead of time. As the blood of Shangguan family, after so many things, he was unwilling to go back to face his father. And if he followed them back, he would still need some time to calm the feelings he shouldn't have. So he decided to go around and look at the outside world, which is also a kind of free and easy. Now people have made decisions. Oh, I almost forgot. Cloud Dance suddenly thought of something. Then, there was a flash of light, and all the summoners in her ring were released. Just before everyone knew what Yunwu wanted to do, they saw that Yunwu's heart was moving, and bursts of strong and strange breath spread out. Immediately, then see from her eyebrow one after another of shoot-out color light, directly toward the contract beast eyebrow shoot. She wants to take the contract back from their brows and break it. When everyone understood what was going on, they were all shocked. In general, once the contract beast is contracted, it is almost impossible for him or her to be terminated. If he or she has a lower strength, he or she has no ability to terminate the contract at all. And the strength is strong. The contract beast is also strong enough, no one will want to lift. Unexpectedly, Yunwu started to cancel the contract without any sign. What's going on? Mama, you don't want me. Master, what's the matter? What's going on? What happened? Just as Yunwu was about to release the fifth summoner, she was finally stopped by Xiaoqiu. One by one, they were summoned out of Hongling and other contract animals. They all stood beside her with a face of muddle, and they felt abandoned one after another. Originally, when I contracted with you, it was forced by the situation. Now that the beast gate has been destroyed, I should not let you follow me anymore. So I will set you free and go home. Cloud Dance should be said. Now that everything is stable, it's time to give them freedom. After all, even people don't like to be bound, not to mention these spiritual beasts. No, we're not going. Little Stink was the first to protest. I was hatched by you and grew up around you. Where do you want me to go? Yes, I followed you at the beginning, and I thought of you. Do you want me to go back to the underground ice cellar? Blue Yu frowns away. I am a crippled soul. Where can I wander without the contract? Bai Shuer opens her mouth. Although I haven't been with you for a long time, there are few human beings I can admire. They have contracted with me through all kinds of hardships. Now why should I terminate the contract? Little Nine didn't understand. Master, I will not go either. One by one, the voices of opposition rang out one after another. Yunwu felt that his head was going to explode, but he had to persuade one by one. Little Stink, don't forget that you are the pure-blood demon Huang. The Phoenix family can't live without you. Red Fire Dragon, don't forget your identity. Now that the war has just passed, your family still needs you to go back. And you. Cloud Dance one by one count in the past, just after still noisy summon beast have quiet down, but the face is still a face of not willing. Always with me, you are doomed not to be a separate existence. Only when you go back can you be an independent existence. What's more, we don't miss you. When your task is finished, you can come to the human world to find me at any time. Summon beasts look at each other. Until now only a few people are not willing to compromise. Master, I am a ghost. If the contract is broken, I will have nowhere to go, so let me follow you. Bai Shuer insisted. And me, I don't want to go back to the ice cellar. Blue Yu cold pick eyebrow to say. Master, your blood is flowing in my body. Do you have the heart to drive me away? Hongling exaggerates to say, that appearance amuses a lot of people. Cloud Dance helpless smile, but think carefully, found that it seems to be so. So after careful thinking, they agreed to 3 people stay, but the others eventually terminated the contract. When it was over, Yunwu suddenly closed her eyes and sat down. She still remembered that there was a very important person in the chaos shop. 3 years have already passed, but he did not urge her once, but quietly helped her black pride. Black pride. Cloud Dance consciousness into the chaos hall, looking at the front of this do not know how many times to help their own shadow. In fact, from beginning to end, she did not really see his face. However, it seems that this is not very important. The important thing is that she will always be grateful to him. After all, too much has happened along the way, and he has helped and given too much. Black Ao opened his eyes. Don't know is not illusion. Unexpectedly in that pair of always calm eyes saw a don't give up and pleased. You did it. Cloud Dance nodded. Yes, I did it. Now I'll fulfill my promise. black proud sighed a breath. Faintly visible his that face rare show a smile. Good. Both of them were not talkative. Yunwu started without saying a word. After a stick of incense, it drives the chaos hall and really liberates Hayo. I will meet you in the future. Hayo, like an elder, left only these 8 words and left directly. Yunwu looks at the empty chaos hall and hides the gratitude and reluctance in her heart. The human world. Gao Yu and Lanking Shui returned to the human world the day after Yunwu woke up, so when Yunwu and others came back, the Cloud family had already begun to rebuild. Yunwu has made a clear decision to combine the Killer Core and the Yunjiajin, collectively known as the Yunjiajin, to guard the Yunjia from now on. I believe that with the existence of this force, the Yunjia will never encounter any trouble in the human world and the upper world in the future. Little fellow, I won't be with you. Long Qingxia said softly in Cloud Dance's ear when no one was around. I have to go back to prepare the bride price. Yunwu blushed and looked at him angrily. They had a quarrel that night, and the next day they slept for a long time. Although there is a border, no one broke in, but went out of the border to see the anxious people outside. Yunwu was directly shy. What's more depressing is that it seems that what they have done is too obvious. Since then, everyone's eyes have been obedient and ambiguous. Cloud Dance in the heart secretly some depressed, but still feel quite satisfied. At least she followed her heart. However, the only bad thing is that these days they get along with each other all day long. Qingxia is more unscrupulous. Sometimes I don't know how to control it, but it makes Yunwu want to cry. All along, the gentleman can only be described as sex wolf after the meet. Seeing the Cloud Dance like this, Long Qingxia chuckled and pecked on her lips. Then he said, Remember to miss me. Please wait for me at home. After that, before Yunwu stares at him again, he flies away, leaving Yunwu alone in the room waiting for the next person. In the following days, the marriage of Long Qingxia and Yunwu spread all over the upper world and human world. Long Qingxia is not shy about it. He chooses a good day to send his rich betrothal gifts. All the way, he publicizes them and makes them known to all. Everyone is spreading the legend between the two, and even looking forward to what kind of wedding it will be. Even Shangguan, who went out to travel around, was always able to talk about this pair of lovers. Well, you are the only one that the whole world of show love knows. Shangguan shook his head helplessly. It was hard to avoid some bitterness in his heart, but he was convinced to lose. Counting the time, it's almost time for them to get married. Since they can hear from them everywhere, Shangguan decided to go and have a look. After a sip of the wine from the jug, Shangguan went directly to the human world. The day before the wedding, the sky is cloudless, sunny and bustling. In other words, do you feel that today's imperial city is a little breathless? In the tea house, someone asked the people around him. Yes, there is a feeling that the whole imperial city is occupied by experts. In my heart, I feel oppressed. I'm afraid Miss Nine of Yunfu wants to get married, so many experts have come to our imperial city. That's the one who helped us fight back the Beast Gate. People are talking about what kind of people are coming to the imperial city, so that the air in the whole city is full of a strong pressure. It's less than a day away from Yunwu Dragon's wedding. It's noon. It was supposed to be a lunch break, but the whole imperial city is boiling, because everyone is discussing about Yunwu's wedding. But in the Imperial City Cloud family mansion, at this time is surrounded by a steady stream of people. Congratulations to General Yun for getting a good son-in-law. General Yun, it's really enviable to have such a good daughter. Standing at the door, Yun Lingyi greets each other with a smile on his face and bows his hand to thank each other. Visitors come and go in Yunfu one after another. All around the Cloud House are the people of the Cloud family army. They are closely guarded up and down, and they are very alert. And the next people in Yunfu are busy, running around, but their faces are full of excited smiles. Because today, it's probably the busiest and most beautiful time in Yunfu for so many years. All the experts from all walks of life gathered in Yunfu, which made the whole Yunfu have a kind of unprecedented powerful pressure, so that all the common people around dare not get close to it. When Shangguan stepped forward to the gate of Yunfu, he saw that the courtyard of Yunfu was full of familiar faces. They were in groups, talking and laughing together. Many of these people were people who had fought side by side with themselves and others before. The shoulder was suddenly patted. When Shangguan turned his head, he saw Meng Bai standing behind him. He couldn't help laughing. I haven't seen you for a long time. During this period, it has been 3 months unconsciously. Yes, long time no see. Meng Bai laughed and patted Shangguan on the shoulder. Time flies. I thought these days should be tough. I didn't expect that Yunwu would get married so soon. Shangguan laughed and sighed. They walked into Yunfu side by side. There were many familiar people in Yunfu. They all went forward to greet Shangguan and others. For a moment, it was very lively. Ah, isn't that Nanganji over there? Meng Bai suddenly clapped the Shangguan's shoulder, pointed to a place and cried out in surprise. Then he waved to the other side and cried out, Nangangi! This way Nanganji, who is always dressed in white and as handsome as an immortal, is always out of place with the people around him. He turned his head, looked up at Shangguan and finally showed a smile, nodded slightly not far away, and then came over. I think we've all had a good time recently. After that, someone said. In a word, everyone laughed and looked around. Situlan and Chi Yis all came over. A group of people came together again. Well, I don't know if that guy Mu Xiaoming will come today, Shangguan asked with a smile. The state affairs and family affairs need to be rectified. I think Mu Xiaoming will have to forget Xiaowu's wedding. Meng Bai laughs and looks around. How can I forget? If I forget, I'm sorry for our friendship. Shangguan joked and began to search around for familiar figures. At this time, suddenly in the crowd, a person slowly walking towards this side. And her appearance, let everyone can't help but glance. Here comes the cloud dance. Miss Nine is out. When they saw Yunwu coming out of the room, almost everyone began to come forward and congratulate Yunwu. Cloud Dance smiles and nods one by one. Very beautiful and dignified. Little dance. This way Meng Bai waved and cried with a smile. Shangguan stood beside Meng Bai, looking at this more and more beautiful woman. When she came over there, she felt that her whole body was shining, which made all the people around her unable to move their eyes. Finally, the woman who has always been in her heart is going to marry her favorite man. Shangguan mouth slightly raised. The sun is very dazzling. Let Shangguan feel some can't open their eyes. Sour and astringent. What do you feel in your heart? I can't tell the truth. But it's a perfect thing, isn't it? Shangguan raised his head and gave a very bright smile to Yunwu. Congratulations, Xiaowu. Your big day is coming. You are all here. Yunwu smiles and looks at this group of people. From the beginning of the battle, this group of people have been accompanying themselves to the present step. How much blood and tears have they shed? These people are the most valuable people in this life. What about Mu Xiaoming? Why haven't you arrived yet? Cloud Dance smiles to ask away. Can't be busy if can't attend to come over? How can I forget anyone's affairs? If I forget your important day, how can I be worthy of our life and death friends? An unusually bright voice suddenly came from the door. All the people turned their heads to see, and Mu Xiaoming walked slowly towards several people from the crowd. As soon as he was near, Mu Xiaoming suddenly bowed to Yunwu and said, Congratulations on Yunwu's wedding tomorrow. Everyone was stunned. Even Cloud Dance was stunned there, a face at a loss. Why suddenly so polite? Meng Bai's voice was a little cautious and expressed his doubts. At the corner of Mu Xiaoming's mouth, he suddenly raised a big smile, straightened up and hugged Meng Bai around him, laughing. Long time no see, it makes me miss you so much. Everyone breathed a breath. Cloud Dance's helpless smile shook his headway. Suddenly so polite, really let people at a loss. Ah. I don't know where Long Qingxie is. Why didn't he come out with you? Mu Xiaoming looks at Cloud Dance curiously. Yes, usually girls who are not in the cabinet can't see anyone before their wedding. Why did you come out, but Long Qingxie didn't come out? The Shangguan colludes with Mu Xiaoming and Meng Bai, and asks with a smile. As soon as I heard of the girl who had not come out of the pavilion, a touch of rosy clouds flew up on Yunwu's face, coughed twice to ease my embarrassment, and said, he is meeting some important guests, so he can't get by now. Hey, what's the important guest? You mean we're not important guests anymore? Shangguan turned his eyes and turned his head to the people around him. Let's go, let's go, let's go. It turns out that we don't care about the dragon. It's so sad. Everyone pretended to be disappointed and turned to go. Suddenly I heard a very lazy laughter coming from my ear, with a smile in it and a threat in it. If you dare to step out of this gate, I will beat you so that you can't go back home. The voice has not yet fallen, when people turn back. Long Qingxia didn't know when he came to Yunwu. He put the bracelet on Yunwu's waist and raised his mouth. It was full of evil spirits. Do you still need me to treat you? I'll start the reception right away. If I don't go to the kitchen to help carry things, my family will be too busy. The dragon who has lost all his goodness. Return the beauty and enslave us. A few people can't help but wail. But everyone's steps have gone to the cloud house. Gradually the table was almost finished. The guests took their seats one after another. They were chatting and drinking tea. Yunqi came out. The highly respected Yunqi makes people around him bow their hands to greet him. Who knows what we've been through? Shangguan and the hot Tutsao sitting beside him make complaints about the guests. Let's bring tea and water. Nanganji sits at the table, a teacup in his hand, slowly turning, eyes slightly narrowed, watching Yunwu and Longqingxi standing there, sweet greasy together, as if thoughtful. Heaven's destiny can be changed. What else can cloud dance do? Nangangi chuckles in his heart. This cloud dance really makes people feel very elusive and admirable. I don't know why there is a kind of loss mixed with happy mood in his heart, which makes Nangangi very entangled and can't help thinking deeply. When he first learned that it was his destiny to be with Yunwu, Nangangi was in fact insipid at the beginning. As for the later emotion, he took her in his eyes and hit her a little bit. However, from the beginning, he knew very well that she was not a person willing to accept fate. Was she? It was also because of this that he followed her all the way and witnessed it with his own eyes. In fact, he knows very well what his inner complexity is. Up to now, standing beside Yunwu is Dragon Qingxia, who is about to become her husband. And the South Palace, he also can't help but lower the head to smile, cover up the bottom of the eye that lasts sour astringent. Turning his head to catch a glimpse of Qi Yi's hand sitting beside him, his mood gradually began to return to calm. Looking up at Qi Yi's also turned to look at him. Qi Yi's, who had never been cold and didn't say a word, showed a smile in his eyes and raised his mouth slightly when he saw his eyes turning. Nangangi also smiles back. At this moment, it seems that everything is silent. Little one. Long Qingxia stood beside Yunwu, slightly bent down and whispered in her ear. After tomorrow, you will be my man. Yunwu is as sweet as honey in her heart. Even if she is as cold as she is, her face is also a little bit shy. Two faint red clouds linger on her cheek, which makes her originally extremely beautiful face add a few different customs and adds a few fireworks breath. Long Qingxia looks at the people around him, and his heart becomes soft in an instant. That's good. Long Qingxia passed her and said, Tomorrow, I will take this opportunity to tell the world that you are my man, and no one can give you an idea. His voice is as evil as ever, but also full of affection. Cloud Dance listened to Pink Face a Red for their wedding. She is also full of expectations. The setting sun was finally sinking in the crowd, and soon the whole imperial city was coated with orange. Finally, it's time for the meal. The whole Yunfu is filled with the aroma of food. Yunwu and Longqingxi come to everyone with Yunqi and Yunlingji. Seeing that the protagonist of the wedding has finally arrived, all the guests here have stopped talking and all of them look up at the people above. First of all, thank you all for coming to my daughter's wedding. Standing at the front table, Yunlingyi said with a smile. Today, I'm very moved that you've come all the way here. After dinner today, we'll stay at Yun's house and wait for tomorrow's golden day. There was a lot of laughter in the whole seat, and the sound of congratulation came from everywhere. Yunqi also smiles and squints his eyes. After the war and the loss of his family and pain, Yunqi is getting old. But now he is really happy for Yunwu. Long Qingxia turns his head and looks at the clouds around him. He smiles and looks up at the sky, but he is suddenly stunned. I saw a black cloud rolling over the sky. Before anyone else noticed anything unusual, suddenly the earth began to shake. Ding ding. All the wine glasses on the table were jingling, and everyone stood up in doubt, but most of you were experts from all walks of life, but there was no confusion. Everyone turned to the sky and frowned at the same time. What's the matter? Where did the earthquake happen? Shangguan and others frowned. They all realized that something was wrong. They drew out their weapons and watched around them. Cracks gradually opened up on the ground. Even the walls of Yunfu were cracked. Countless flying debris were scattered. A lot of wine on the table also fell to the ground. Bricks and tiles fell, which made people around them scream danger, and avoid it one after another. Cloud dance in the heart secret way is not good. Just want to turn head to ask Long Qingxia. Suddenly see Long Qingxia face a burst of pale, brow tight wrinkle. Hands dead grasp the table. Qingxia, what's the matter with you? Cloud dance suddenly has a kind of unexpected premonition. But her hand just touched Long Qingxia's shoulder. And suddenly she saw that Long Qingxia's face was pale and terrible, and her teeth cackled. And Cloud Dancing's expression suddenly became dignified. Qingxia, do you know? The words haven't finished. The dragon inclines evil. Suddenly a mouthful of blood burst out. Under the exclamation of the crowd, Long Qingxia suddenly fell to the ground, with cold sweat on his forehead, as if something had exploded from his body. Yunwu's face is also instantly pale. He goes forward 2 steps to help Long Qingxi, but suddenly he sees a black light coming out of Long Qingxi's body. Long Qingxia's painful wailing makes people around him moved. Cold evil will instantly cover everything around. Everyone was shocked and stood up. No one thought that such a thing would happen. Qingxia, what's the matter with you? Wake up. Yunwu is very anxious and rushes forward to help the dragon. But I didn't expect that dragon. Qingxia, who was lying on the ground, suddenly raised his hand and pushed Yunwu out. His expression was very dignified. He trembled and said, "Don't get close to me, leave quickly." Long Qingxia's appearance scares the guests below, and naturally scares Yun Lingyi and Yunqi around him. Long Qingxia forced himself to stand up from the ground, and saw that he was covering his chest, as if something in his body had been broken, and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Qingxia, what's the matter with you? Cloud Dance see this. A burst of panic quickly passed to support him. But Long Qingxia pushed her away again. She wanted to get closer. At this time, a black light burst out from his body. The evil spirit of cold engulfs all around, and the cloud dances for a while. Seeing that she still wants to run, Long Qingxia reaches out her hand and says, "Don't come here." Then he covered his chest and ran out. At the moment, there was already a gloomy sky outside, and it was as dark as night. The strong people from all walks of life who had just moved in were also shocked, as if they had sensed something and went out of the door one after another. Long Qingxia also felt the darkness in front of him. He held the wall and walked forward, with blood dripping all the way. He held the wall and gasped violently. All of a sudden, a black light in the sky enveloped the dragon, making the dragon have no room to fight back and collapse to the ground. Following the cloud dance behind him, seeing this situation, a trace of anxiety flashed in her eyes. She bit her lip and ran to the dragon. However, he was blocked by something before he got close to him. It turned out that there was an invisible border around the dragon. The black light endlessly engulfs the dragon's evil. The dragon's evil hands droop and roars toward the sky, with a look of pain. When Yunwu saw this situation, she flashed purple light in her hand, and a simple broadsword appeared in her hand. She raised the broadsword and waved it bang dang. It was like cutting some iron block, making a sound like a bell. Yunwu steps backward because of the power of the boundary. She snorts, and a touch of fishy sweetness rushes into her throat. He pressed down the blood in his throat, and the purple fighting spirit on the cloud dance sword flashed again. When Long Qingxia saw her like this, he cried out anxiously, "Cloud Dance, are you okay?" "I'm fine." Cloud Dance answers mercilessly toward this border cut. Bang dang. This sound is louder than before. Purple spirit power meets the border is also instantly back. Purple on all shot on the body of Cloud Dance. All of a sudden, the cloud danced like a withered butterfly and was knocked down to the ground. Her chest ached and her blood gushed out of her mouth. Cloud dance. Seeing that Yunwu was injured, Long Qingxie roared. His heartache made him forget the pain of his body. When he saw Yunwu staggering up, he had to use his spiritual power again. He quickly stopped it. Yunwu, don't waste your efforts. You can't open this border. I don't believe it. I don't want you to have an accident. Cloud Dance's eyes flashed a touch of firm color. She is such a person. Do not achieve the goal, never give up. Standing up, his aura rushed to the simple broadsword in his right hand. At the same time, Redling by Xuerlan Yu also appeared behind her. They each took one side and made mysterious gestures. At that time, the aura in their body rushed to the Cloud Dance. At this moment, the sword in Yunwu's hand has already vibrated. The purple fighting spirit is like an arc, swimming on the sword. Yunwu's hands hold the sword and smash it fiercely. The intention of the sword cuts the houses nearby into pieces. However, the border outside Long Qingxie's body doesn't react at all. The black light column is still swimming around Long Qingxie's body. Dragon inclined evil lie in this invisible border, looking at the Cloud Dance. Eyes can't this crack. Cloud Dance. He roared like a wild animal, through the thick black fog, which moved the onlookers around him. However, what surprised them most was Yunwu. This woman, who was seriously injured, covered her chest and stood up again. Master! The white snow son of the body weak they worried of shout, but she didn't even look at them one eye, just clenched the big knife in the hand. Low drink. Continue. No. In the border, the dragon is beating the invisible border. He had never been so desperate as this moment. He saw his woman fighting for himself outside, and her body was lifted out like a puppet again. But she was like did not hear his roar in general, once again staggered to stand up, hand wiped the blood from the corners of the mouth, and then continued to inject spiritual power into the hand of the sword. One attack after another, but it was thrown away again and again. But Yunwu seemed to be a puppet who didn't know the pain, fell down and stood up to continue to attack. Her body has already broken. Plain clothes have become blood clothes, but she did not stop. That fierce force let all the people present shocked, moved. Shangguan and others have attacked time and again, but they have been hit by the rebound again and again. See this scene. Gradually, a person stood out. He helped Yunwu attack the border. Later, more people stood out. They surrounded in front of the border, together toward the border force. The dragon's eyes were red, and the black light column kept devouring him, which made him weak. It was hard for him to move. He could only watch her hurt for him, but he was also very grateful. Thank you for loving me so much. A trace of pathetique flashed from the eyes of the dragon. Once again, when people were shocked, the figure of the dragon disappeared in the light column. The black light disappeared, and the sky became bright. Everything just like a dream. But the land was full of scars, which recorded everything that should happen here. Yunwu stood up and looked at the intact ground in the middle. The people who disappeared suddenly roared toward the sky. The voice was sad and shrill, and the voice was endless. All the people around were sad. For a long time, this sound is absolutely. The body of Cloud Dance also seems to fall apart and fall to the ground. Bedroom. How's it going? What happened to my granddaughter? Yinqi looks worried and looks at Mu Xiaoming, who is picking up Cloud Dance's pulse. At this time, Mu Xiaoming was still embarrassed, but it was not difficult to see his locked brow and more dignified face. In the bedroom, Nangong Yi and others were all present. They were all in a mess, but no one had the heart to pay attention to them. All their thoughts were now on the comatose woman with a white face on the bed. In the middle of the sound, Mu Xiaoming slowly drew back his hand, turned his head and looked at the people present, and said, I am sorry. The last 3 words changed almost everyone's face. What do you mean? No help? Or what's going on? Make it clear. Yinqi's voice trembled as his heart tightened. Mu Xiaoming sighed deeply, looked at Yunwu who was seriously injured and comatose on the bed, and patted his forehead. Yunwu didn't have much injury, but what caused her coma was that there was a repulsive force in her body, which was gradually devouring her spiritual power. It was like 2 tit-for-tat forces rushing in Yunwu's body, and no one had ever heard of it give way. Since you know the situation, can't you eliminate that force? Or treatment? Mu Xiaoming no longer spoke, but his eyebrows and eyes were full of pain. Treatment? Now the collision of the two forces in Yunwu's body, he simply can't use the usual treatment. If there is a way, he will never blame himself like now. As a doctor, in the face of the patient but powerless and in the face of friends can do nothing to double attack, he cannot breathe, can only helplessly shake his head. After all, Mu Xiaoming is the medical skill of the wood world. Otherwise, let's invite some people to come and have a look. At this time, Yun Lingyi suddenly opens his mouth, and it's not difficult to see his anxious worry from his face. And Yun Lingyi's words are naturally the only way to do it at this time. Yunqi orders to go down immediately. Others, on the one hand, have to worry about Yunwu's injury, on the other hand, have to think about what happened before? But some people who took part in the Battle of the Beast Gate thought that the black light suddenly fell from the sky. Wasn't it similar to the black light suddenly shrouded in Long Qingxie during the war? What on earth is that? Where on earth has Long Qingxie gone? Long Qingxie is not here. Cloud Dance is seriously injured. The days that were supposed to be hot and bustling disappeared in an instant. General! General! Here comes the doctor just when the crowd was at a loss. A notice suddenly came to mind outside the door. Come in please. Yunqi and Yunlingyi quickly stand up and welcome the people in person. The visitor was an old man. As soon as he came in, he was directly dragged to Yunwu's bedside for treatment. Mu Xiaoming and others also stood up anxiously waiting for the result. Mingming's room was full of people, but everyone was afraid to come out. Mu Xiaoming held his fist tightly, and he only hated that he could master all the things that doctors in the world knew. Lying on the bed, Yunwu's face turns pale. The two forces in the body collide continuously, sometimes gently and sometimes seriously. When the two forces touch fiercely, Yunwu will suddenly burst out with a mouthful of blood. One side immediately someone took the handkerchief to wipe clean for her. Cloud Dance knew nothing about all this, still fell into a coma. Half a ring. I'm sorry, General Yin. I can't do anything about it. It's really strange for Miss. I've never seen it before. The old man was pale, and knelt down on the ground with a plop. Yun Lingyi sighed deeply, waved and let him leave. Mu Xiaoming's medical skill is not low. Now the old man is the most skilled in medicine in the whole country, and he has no way. Who else has a way? Yun Lingyi frowned tightly, and the sadness under his eyes was obvious. Is this destiny? Yunqi sighed and said, looking at the Cloud Dance on the bed, Yun Lingyi is very heartbroken. His eyes are red and he just brushes his sleeve directly. Nangongyi and others are sitting in a nearby house, silent. For a long time, Shengguan finally couldn't sit down, patted the table and stood up. You can't think of a way. Now Small 5 has become like this. You all have a word to say. We've all been traveling for such a long time, and we've seen a lot of things. Is there nothing we can do? The expression of the crowd became more depressed. Now Long Qingxie is missing, Cloud Dance is in a coma, Cloud family is in a panic, the whole imperial city is also a sigh. Now the first thing we can do is to stabilize the experts from all walks of life. In this case, it is inevitable to meet some emotional people and do something. Nangongyi said that his eyes narrowed slightly, and he seemed to be thinking about something. These people are very close to us. When Little Dragon Dance goes out of evil, there will be a lot of people clamoring to get revenge from the power of that day. Just after the removal of the Beast Gate, the morale of the people of the Cloud family army is even higher. Mu Xiaoming frowned and said, what we need to do now is to find more doctors and try our best to treat Xiao Wu. Second, we should stabilize the whole human world, prevent the occurrence of rumors, so as to avoid the turbulence of people's hearts. At the same time, we should also stabilize those officers and men, so that they do not act rashly. Third, send some calm people to find the whereabouts of Long Qingxie, and bring back the news is the most important. Everyone nodded seriously, and then began to discuss specific actions. The next day, the imperial city, which was supposed to be decorated with lights, became extremely dull. And even there were all kinds of rumors. Oh, what a wonderful day. It's just that something like this happened. Heaven is jealous of the talent. In the tavern, someone sighed. Not only the heaven envies the talent, but also the beauty. What a wonderful couple, or a great benefactor of the whole human world and the upper world. Why do you think this happened? Alas! Why? Someone suddenly thought of something and said, "Do you think it's the gate of beasts?" How can it be? All the old nests of the beast gate have been taken. And even if it's the beast gate, do they dare to make trouble? I think it might be from other places. My God! Also, is it another beast gate? As soon as this statement came out, people around them turned pale and looked at each other. No one dared to say more. Although the gate of 10,000 beasts has been destroyed, the impression that our gate of 10,000 beasts has brought to you is too deep. It has left indelible traces in the hearts of everyone who has experienced it. Now it's hard to get peace, and once you think about going back to the old days, a sense of fear from the bottom of your heart attacks everyone's heart. The same argument takes place everywhere in the human world and the upper world. At Yun's home, everyone is still at a loss for the symptoms of Yunwu. As soon as Yunqi is worried, she simply publishes a call post in her own name on the bulletin board of the whole imperial city, to call on famous doctors from all walks of life. Yunwu is very kind to the whole human world. All the people know that Yunwu is the leader of the Yunjiao army and helps them eliminate the Beast Gate. Therefore, as soon as the edict was issued, all kinds of doctors came in a short time. For a time, the Cloud family was crowded. But no one can tell why. Almost everyone's answer is the same. There are two forces fighting each other in her body, which leads to her coma. But how to stop this phenomenon? No one can say it. On the other hand, Yunlingyi also gathered many soldiers and people who came to attend the wedding to pacify the people. Everybody Yunlingyi stands in the yard of Yun's family and looks at the indignant expert sitting in the yard. He is moved by the loyalty of these people. But the same, even more sad for the status quo. Thank you very much for coming to my daughter's wedding, but I didn't expect that such a thing would happen. So now I can only say sorry to you. If you still have something to do, you can leave by yourself. When we find a good son-in-law and cure our daughter, we will invite you again. A bearded man suddenly stood up and yelled, "General Yun, that's wrong with you. At the beginning, Miss Yun and young Xiaolong took us all to attack the Beast Gate. They were the pioneers in everything. To be honest, they were the first to kill the Beast Gate. Now that they are in trouble, are we going to be ungrateful and stand by? General Cloud, as long as you give us an order, we are willing to go up the Sword Mountain and down the Sea of Fire for Miss Yun." A touch of emotion flashed across Yunlingyi's face. "To tell you the truth, we don't have a clue now. We just don't want to delay you. And the troublemaker is afraid of." I didn't say the following, but everyone understood. General Yun, don't belittle yourself. With so many of us, are we still afraid that we can't deal with them? Yunqi and Yunlingyi look at each other and shake their heads. They are afraid they can't cope with it. Let's talk about it. If it hadn't been for Yunwu and Longqingxi, they took us to defeat the Beast Gate. Could we have such a good life now? The man turned his head and looked at the people behind him. Seeing that they all nodded their heads, he became more firm. I don't want to see our life-saving benefactor become like this. I'm a big old man. I don't know how to be unreasonable and don't know etiquette, but I know how to repay my kindness. I believe these brothers behind me will not give up. Do you think? Because of what the big man said, all the people behind them clamored that they would not leave and would kill the person alive. Shengguan could not laugh or cry in the room. He turned his head and looked at the people around him. These people are really loyal. Now they are so noisy without knowing who they are. If this continues, I'm afraid General Yun will be out of control. Yes, what can we do? Someone has to come forward to suppress this matter. No matter what generals or ministers they are, these people are most loyal. I'm afraid 10 cows can't be brought back for this kind of thing. Just as he was saying this, he suddenly saw a man running in from the outside. When everyone was wondering who this man was, the Shangguan suddenly exclaimed in surprise, "Little Stink." Little Stink didn't catch his breath. He nodded in a hurry. Shangguan was very surprised. He quickly went forward and took him to sit down. Meng Bai poured him a glass of water and asked, "Why are you here?" Since the termination of the contract, Xiao Smelly went back to the Phoenix clan. Originally, he came to attend the Cloud Dance wedding, but he didn't expect to hear that something happened yesterday. He came almost non-stop. Mama has an accident. Can I not come? What's the matter? For Yunwu's feelings, he is far more nervous than other contract animals. However, without waiting for others to speak, he also said, "By the way, my father has also come. He seems to know something." At this time, he is talking with Mama's grandfather in the room over there. Shangguan turns to see that Yunqi, who used to be around Yanlinji, has disappeared. Nangongyi felt a little relieved at the bottom of his heart when he heard the words, "If your father comes, there are some ways." Nangongyi's words naturally make Meng Bai and others feel a little relieved. However, at this time, it seems that the outside is not stable. Although sometimes it's easy to do things when there are many people, there are many troubles when there are many people. Nangongyi stood up and walked towards the door. "I'll talk to old General Yun. You wait here first." Then he pushed the door out. Nangongyi and Xiaoqiu come out. The excitement of the crowd is finally suppressed. After all, no matter Nangongyi or Xiaoqiu, everyone knows their identity. At night, led by Yunqi, the dark beast comes to Yunwu's room. When he saw the cloud dance, little Stink could not help blushing. How can hemp become like this? What the hell is going on? Everyone looked at each other, and no one could tell why. At this time, the dark beast came forward to have a look. The pupil suddenly contracted, and could not help sighing. What a powerful force! Powerful power? As soon as the words came out, people concentrated their eyes on him. Then the dark beast realized that he had made a slip of words. After deep lifting his eyes, he said faintly, "There are two forces in her body, and one of them is probably the residual force of that day." Mu Xiuming nodded and said, "We have checked this out before, but no one can deal with it." "Of course." The dark beast was silent for a moment, and then said, "Her internal strength is too strong, and another force is also powerful and strange. If I don't feel wrong, the other force is the dark force and what? It's very urgent to stop when you're talking. Besides, even I can't eliminate that dark force. This is the reason why he wants to stop talking. You know, he is the evil beast of darkness, which originates from the darkness. If even he can't eliminate the power of darkness, you can imagine how far he has reached." As soon as the words came out, people's faces became silent. Are they so helpless? Seeing the people's faces, the dark beast could only continue to say, "But there is another way, that is, by herself. When the power in her body reaches a relative balance, or can swallow the external power, she will wake up. As for us, it's not appropriate to intervene." "In fact, it's the same as not saying, isn't it?" Yin Lingyi asked. "Is this the only way? Can we just wait and see?" "That's right." The dark beast said, "Maybe you can continue to look for a doctor. Maybe we can still find it." But this sentence has no credibility at all. Looking at the depressed faces of all the people, Shangguan stood up and said, "That's right. I think no matter how possible it is, we should try it. There will always be some hidden masters in the world. Even if there is only a little possibility, we should grasp it." People smell speech, although in the heart understand hope is not big, but at this time people all force of nod. Hope is better than no hope. The imperial edict to find a doctor is still going on, and the task of finding a strong one is unfolding behind the scenes, but there is no clue. 3 months passed in a flash. Yunwu didn't wake up all the time, but it was amazing that her abdomen became bigger day by day, just like a pregnant woman this day. "Doctor, please come in. Miss is right here." A maid and a gray-haired old man enter Yunwu's sleeping room. At this time, Qi Yi's is the only one in the room except Yunwu. Since this period of time, everyone has been around Yunwu in turn every day, waiting for Yunwu to wake up. Seeing the doctor come in, Qi Yi stands up quickly. I don't know who he is these days. Although he knew that there was little hope, Yin Lingyi, Yun Qi, Shangguan and others never gave up looking for a doctor. Even many hermit experts were invited to come. "Thank you," Qi Yi politely said to the old man, then led him to one side. Let him doctor for Cloud Dance diagnosis and treatment. He is a worried look on the side. After a long time, the old man finally opened his eyes, which were full of doubts. How's it going? Chi asks away hastily. The old man shook his head and said, looking at its shape, it should be pregnancy, but... Hearing the word just, Chi's heart sank. I don't know how many times it is in such a long time. Almost every doctor's words are the same. Chi's even guessed what the old man was going to say next. Sure enough, the doctor then said, it's just that there's no pulse that pregnant women should have. Chi Knight sighed, but shook his head. Thank you, sir. Shame, shame. Mrs. Pulse is so rare that I can't incompetent. The old man said with shame and left under the guidance of the maid. Chi frowned and stood by the bed, his eyes on Yunwu's protruding abdomen for a long time. Now the power of Cloud Dance seems to be more powerful. Just standing by the bed can vaguely feel the constant collision of two forces in her body. It's just that compared with 3 months ago, no matter how fierce the collision of these forces is, it won't affect Cloud Dance. Chi sighed. Xiaowu, when on earth can you wake up? Creak dash a sound. The door was opened again. Small Stink Rate first came in. As soon as Xiao Chou came in, he ran directly to the Cloud Dance on the bed and asked Chi. How's Mama? Not awake yet? Did the doctor just now have nothing to do? Will the doctor come today? A series of questions like a barrage of thoughts. Chi Knight lost in the past, but the small stinky eyes are always in the body of Cloud Dance. Until Yunwu's side, Little Smelly could not help sighing when he saw Yunwu, which had no change from the day before. After that, Shangguan and others came in, including Bai Shuer, Lan Yu and Hong Ling. Since they were called out that day, because of Yunwu's coma, they didn't sleep by themselves but were outside. What's more strange is that the contractual relationship between them and Yunwu is completely cut off by something. This kind of situation is very rare. As if they were completely independent, they were not bound by contract. But if they can choose, they would rather choose to be able to sense the contact of the contract. At least then they can know the situation of Cloud Dance. Well, you don't feel anything about her now. The Red Fire Dragon sighed and asked Bai Shuer. Red Fire Dragon did not return to the Dragon Clan. At least, during the period when Yunwu was still in a coma, he could not go away. Bai Shuer shook her head helplessly. Not to mention the current situation of the host. I even feel that the existence of the contract has become very weak. Lan Yu frowned and said in a cool voice, if it goes on like this, I'm really afraid. Don't talk nonsense. Red Ling stares at an eye to interrupt his words. Didn't you see that we three are still good? There is a contract. If there is something wrong with the master, we should also be affected. If we have no influence, it means that the master is okay. That said, the contract is getting weaker and weaker. Is it the master who doesn't want us, or is the contract being swallowed up? Bai Shuer said with a frown. Little Smelly stood up from the bed. My father had something to do with the family a few days ago, so he went back. Today he came back again. He is coming here. When he arrives, let him have a look. Maybe he can feel something. Smell speech, everybody nods. In any case, the dark beast seems to have a better way than those doctors. So they waited patiently for the arrival of the dark beast. Before long, Mengbai said, here comes in surprise, and everyone raised their spirits one after another. Sure enough, but for a moment, the shadow of the dark beast appeared in the room. The dark beast just entered the door, frowning, and then quickly walked to the bed. The dark power has been strengthened. What? Shangguan and others were stunned. They all set their eyes on him and wanted him to go on. But the dark beast did not answer, but went directly to Yunwu's side and observed carefully. At last, he closed his eyes and carefully examined the situation in Yunwu's body. All the people dare not go out for fear of disturbing him. After a long time, the dark beast opened his eyes dignified. The power in her, the dark power in her, has really increased, and it's more and more like me. As soon as the words came out, people's faces became a little strange. Like his breath? Why is that so awkward? How to say, it should be the same as the dragon's evil breath. Wait, Shangguan suddenly said. I remember that the power of dragon's evil spirit seemed to be darkness. So the power of dragon's evil spirit remained in Xiaowu's body. It should be that he was pregnant. But I have carefully checked that there is no breath of life in the dark force. The next sentence of the dark beast directly poured cold water on Shangguan. Although the stomach is a little big, if there is no breath of life, either there is no pregnancy, or it could be stillbirth. Stillbirth, they all exclaimed with one voice. Originally, they thought that it was a great tragedy to be forced to separate the day before the wedding. These days they are eager to prove that Yunwu has children, which can make Yunwu have the power to wake up. Now however that hope has been dashed. If Yunwu really wakes up and disappears the dragon, the child she is pregnant with is still stillborn. What a blow to people. I'm just speculating. Seeing that the faces of the people were too heavy, the dark beast could not help saying, but what he said was not convincing. Well, didn't Nangongyi go back to divination? Don't you mean we can deliver the results today? Maybe they can tell us what to do. Maybe they can find a way to wake up Xiaowu. Mu Xiuming said suddenly. Because he has no idea, Nangongyi can't help looking for his father. Although their Nangong family is famous for divination, sometimes they can't do everything. What's more, there's a saying that heaven's secrets can't be revealed. But he finally decided to go to his father. As soon as Mu Xiuming finished talking about Cao Cao's arrival, a notice came from the door, saying that the Nangong family had arrived. They left the caretakers behind and went to the main hall in a hurry. In the main hall, Nangongji and Nangongshui are sitting with their heads down. Their faces are too heavy. As soon as they get to the main hall, they have a bad feeling. Nangongji? Qi Yi's took the lead to ask. Nangongyi just raised his head. He was very tired because of his divination for many days. His face was a little pale. When he saw the visitor, he reluctantly showed a smile. Here you are. Shangguan clenched his fist and went forward directly. Nangongji, you can say anything, even if the result of divination is bad. You can't hide anything. Clinker, but Nangong gave a bitter smile and said, if only you could make divination. Everyone was stunned. What does this mean? Nangongshui sighed. To tell you the truth, whether it's the future of the child in Miss Yun's womb or the whereabouts of Long Shitzi, we can't figure out the reason with all our efforts. It's as if they never appeared in this world. There's nothing we can do in the main hall, because the words fell into a dead silence for a long time. No one spoke. In the twinkling of an eye, a few months later, Yunwu's stomach is getting bigger and bigger, but Yunwu is still sleeping, and has no intention of waking up. On the bed, Yunwu closed her eyes tightly, motionless, breathing quietly. Her face was right, but there was no sign of waking up. She was still asleep. Her bedside, surrounded by a circle of people, Shangguan, Nangongyi and others are also here, nervous looking at the doctor next to her pulse. The atmosphere was dignified. After a long time, the doctor who sat by the bed to feel the pulse of Yunwu finally stood up, and everyone was more nervous. How's it going? Yunqi nervously asks the doctor who is packing his things. His hands are shaking and his eyes are red. Yunlingyi holds him and keeps silent. Back to the old general. It seems that the young lady is about to give birth, but now it seems that the young lady has no sign of waking up. The doctor was very scared and said pale. If this continues, when the child was born that day, Miss is very dangerous. After a few words, the faces of the people who said it all became serious. Yunqi falters and nearly falls down. He is held by Yunlingyi. Shangguan stood by Yunwu's bed frowning. His expression was very ugly, and the people around him were silent. How is she now? Nangongyi asked. If this child is born, will it pose a threat to her? But the doctor shook his head and sighed. For now, I don't quite understand what's going on, but it's still the same as before, no improvement, no change, and still no consciousness, just coma. What's the matter? Shangguan angrily shook his sleeve and turned out of the room. Nangongyi and others also look at each other, say goodbye to Yunlingyi Yunqi, and turn around one after another. When they came to the temporary house for Shangguan, several people sat down and poured a cup of tea. They were all silent. They gathered around the table and couldn't find a better topic to discuss. Tell me what happened to Yunwu this time. The baby is about to be born, but she still doesn't wake up and doesn't know what will happen next. Shengguan said to himself. At last he sighed and held his eyebrows in silence. Long Qingxie, your daughter-in-law is about to die. Where are you? Don't tell me to show up quickly. Shengguan scratched his hair hard, very anxious. Yunwu's stomach is still growing, which makes everyone worried. They are afraid that there will be any problems with Yunwu, and they don't know what harm it will do if Yunwu doesn't wake up when the child is born. At the same time, everyone is looking forward to the recovery of Cloud Dance. But day after day, the Cloud Dance still did not move. This day, Nangongyi and Yunqi are discussing the information they got about the dragon's evil. A guard outside suddenly runs in and rushes in front of Yunqi and says, "Report to the general, someone is asking for help outside. They say there is a way to wake up the young lady." The words made the Shengguan and others present stunned for a while, but they soon recovered. I think that since this period of time, there have been such people continuously, but in the end, they either failed or cheated. Let it go. Yunlingyi frowned and was very impatient. Wait, what else did the man say? Yunqi asks. Anyway, he didn't want to let go of any hope. When the man had said that, he said that he came from the top of the desert. The guard answered seriously. The top of the desert? When they heard the speech, they were stunned. Immediately, they looked at each other and saw the incomprehension in each other's eyes. Who is it? During this period, people came from all over the world, but no doctor came to the top of the desert. The biggest problem is that the top of the desert is a place of no care. It's no surprise that there is no doctor. But now there are people from the top of the desert, which is the strangest. Finally, several people decided to invite people in. Not long. A man in a black robe walked slowly from the outside. The black hood and black robe made him look very cold and not easy to get close to. On his handsome face, with a smile in his eyes, a slight lift in the corner of his mouth, and long white fingers sticking out of his black robe, he came here with a feeling of mystery. However, when he saw the visitor, Shengguan suddenly stood up from his seat, and a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. Looking at the man coming, he was a little surprised. Yes, Knight Nangongyi and others can't help but stand up. Looking at the people approaching in front of them, their brows are slightly wrinkled, but the fundus of their eyes is also a bit unexpected. Cloud Cold E1 faced doubts. Do you really know? He is the leader of 10 cities on the top of the desert. Knight, he really helped me a lot at the beginning. Shengguan nodded to explain. 10 cities on top of the desert? After all, he had seen a lot of mercenary soldiers on the top of the desert, but he didn't seem to have heard of the name of the head of 10 cities. However, listening to Shengguan's words, and looking at the expressions of Nangongyi and others, it seems that this knight really has something to do with it. Yunqi is also polite. He gets up and looks at the man who comes in. After entering the living room that night, Shengguan took the lead in saying, "Lord of the Night, I don't know what brings you here." In fact, what he wanted to ask most was what he could do to cure the 5th graders. But although he once helped them, he suddenly appeared. I didn't know if there was any other purpose, so he began to smile in an official way. Why didn't this man come in the fight with the Beast Gate, but suddenly appeared at this time? Situlan asks Nangongyi around him quietly. Nangongyi narrowed his eyes slightly and shook his head slowly. The teacup in his hand seemed to be thinking about something. Who knows what happened? I don't know what I came here for. I don't believe he is a bad man, but I will never admit that he is a good man. Mengbai snorted in a low voice. No matter what, watch it change. Nangongyi's brow is more tight. But these 3 people's whispered words naturally grasped the sound volume. But the Shengguan who was not far away could hear them very clearly. Don't be so polite. I won't have any bad feelings when I come here this time. However, I just heard that something happened to Yunwu girl, and I just know some medical skills. Knight Low Voice is very kind to say, handsome face also smile, but I do not know why, but obviously give people a sense of inexplicable sparse cold. Smell speech, South Palace etc. all couldn't help looking at each other. If you can, please take me to see Yunwu girl. Knight looked at the presence of people. Hook lip smile continued to say. The purpose of his coming here is very clear. I think the Night Lord is dusty. Why don't you have a rest in the mansion first? Cloud Coldy words haven't finished, but by night suddenly words to interrupt. If I guess correctly, the situation of Yunwu girl is not optimistic at this time. Are you sure you want me to have a rest first? This word falls. Everybody brow a CU. How did he know? Has it been investigated for a long time? Yun Qi's brows are locked, but he thinks that his granddaughter, who has been in a coma for several months and is in danger, is still anxious in the end. He sighs and says, I'll take you. Yedian nods, but before Yunqi leads the way, he automatically walks towards the inner courtyard. This behavior made everyone present alert. Yunqi is ready to catch up, but Nangong Yi politely stops him and whispers, Grandfather Yun, this man is mysterious. Although he helped us at the beginning, I can't predict his life experience. I'm afraid. This is what Nangong Yi is most worried about. He always feels that it's not easy to come. Yunqi sighed, looking sad. But what can I do? Now that my granddaughter has become like this, I can only believe in this life. Dead horse should be a live horse, doctor. After that, he pushed aside Nangong Yi's hand and followed him out. How can Yunlingyi not understand Yunqi's mood? As a father, he is more ashamed and heartache, so he doesn't say anything. Nangong Yi and others look at each other, and they all follow up in a hurry. Cloud Dance bedroom. Yunwu lay there quietly. If it wasn't for the ups and downs of her chest, everyone would doubt whether she was dead. Night went forward, carefully looked at Yunwu's face, and touched Yunwu's hand. Then she pulled the corner of her mouth and murmured, as expected. Cloud Coldy, in front of a bright, immediately walked forward, anxiously asked, Do you know why my daughter is unconscious? The Night narrowed her eyes, turned around, went to the table behind the crowd, sat down, poured a glass of water, drank a mouthful, and then said, The reason why Yunwu can't wake up is because of the child in her stomach. In a short sentence, all the people present were stunned. You know, so many doctors have been invited, but no doctor can definitely say the cause of Yunwu's coma, and no doctor can be sure that the growing belly is a child. Although the visual inspection should be pregnant, after all, no doctor has ever felt the pulse of pregnancy. Of course, people's surprise was not obvious. Nangongyi asked in a low voice, Child? Can you feel the pulse of pregnancy? When I heard the speech at night, I laughed inexplicably, as if with some general interest. You people, doctors, naturally can't feel the pulse of pregnancy, but it doesn't mean I can't feel it. After all, it's not human. The last sentence, coupled with his strange smile, made people shiver. He's not human? But then it occurred to everyone that he came from the top of the desert, which was a place full of good and bad people. It was not surprising that there were all kinds of people. However, in the past few months, there have been doctors like the dragon, the phoenix and the wood, but no one has ever felt the pulse of pregnancy. That way, is his clan special after all? However, he did not wait for the audience to ask questions, so he spoke again. It seems that you should also know that the cloud dance is the blood of the witch family, while the dragon Qingxia is the blood of the evil family, and the two are the opposite systems of light and darkness. Speaking of this, the Knight suddenly stopped for a while, slightly raised his eyes to see a few people on the scene, as if to see how the expression of the people. In fact, Shengguan do know about Yunwu and Longqing, but Yunqi and Yunlingyi are not very clear. But what is it about their blood? The so-called extremes must be reversed, and when two people who are completely opposite are combined, it naturally forms the phenomenon of exclusion. Generally speaking, it is impossible for them to have children at all, but it's impossible for two people who have children to have children at this time. After a pause at night, she looked down at Yunwu's bulging stomach and said in a low voice, She is pregnant with this child, which is impossible, so if I guess correctly, this child is born with a special constitution. When people heard this, they were speechless. However, I have to say that what he said is reasonable, and can also explain the unknown situation in recent months. Well, what can we do to make her recover? Yunlingyi and Yunqi asked anxiously. While they are anxious, they even forget the reminder given by Nangong, just now and want an answer. Recovery. The voice of the night with unspeakable emotion, low voice as if ridicule in general, instantly let everyone's heart sink down. It's not impossible for her to wake up, but this child, you don't want it. What did you say? Everyone screamed out in a flash, and everyone's face was wonderful. What are you talking about? That's a numb child. How could it be that I didn't want it? Little Stinky has a quick temper, and is the first to speak out. Yes, now Long Qingxia is not here. If Yunwu wakes up and finds that he has lost his child. Mu Xiaoming tightly screwed his brows, but the assumption behind it could not be said any more. They felt heavy in their hearts. No one spoke anymore. Their thoughts were the same as those of Mu Xiaoming. No matter it was Yunwu or the unborn child in Yunwu's stomach, they could not give up and did not want to give up. Is there really no way? Yunqi's pale face reveals despair. Knight's eyes took a deep look on his face. Instead of answering his question, he asked, "Do you know why she is in a coma?" "Didn't you say it was because of her baby?" Shangguan asked suspiciously. The knight turns around and looks at the cloud dance on the bed. People watch him turn around and wait for the next answer. The voice of the knight is not impatient, as if saying something unimportant, but every word affects the heart of everyone present. This child is not supposed to exist. She is a sacred being, but the man is a dark being. Such two people can't be together at all, but they have children. The voice of the knight swept through the crowd and asked, "What do you think of such a union in the world?" The crowd was silent, and they couldn't say anything, because after racking their brains, they found that they could not imagine what kind of existence it was, as if there would not be such an existence in the world. Bai Shuer opened her mouth slightly and finally said in a weak voice, It can't exist at all, but now that the child exists, is he holy or dark? What kind of energy should we rely on to survive? You just want to keep your children and adults. Have you ever thought about that? What is the nature of the child born from the combination of the sacred and the dark? People think carefully. Can such a child absorb both kinds of energy? Or can't you absorb both? Look at the current situation of Yunwu, isn't it? Yunqi exclaimed. I'm afraid such a child in the fetus can only absorb the energy of the mother. A word awakens the dreamer, and then everyone immediately understands. Is Xiaowu in a coma now because the child has absorbed the energy in her body? Shangguan can't help but say in surprise. Although I know that babies rely on their mothers to provide energy when they are in the womb, I didn't expect that this child could be so powerful that Yunwu would not wake up for such a long time. It's really terrible. Nightmouth, a hook, slightly nodded, can be regarded as agree with his words. At the beginning, there were two forces constantly colliding in her body. Such a collision would occasionally have some forces transmitted to the baby. The sacred force collided with the dark force, and was absorbed by the baby at the same time, but it was not enough, so he had to get energy from the body of Cloud Dance. If it was not for the two precious forces in the body of Cloud Dance, I'm afraid she can't bear the absorption of the child. Everyone looked at each other. I didn't expect such a thing happened to this child before he was born. If he could be born, he would not be an ordinary person. But now so the child and she really can only protect one? Maybe the power in Xiaowu is so strong that if the child can be born. Cloud Coldy Heartache said, after all, is their own children, if there is a trace of possibility, he is not willing to do so. Don't think about it. The child's system is so special that it won't be born until the energy in her body is drained. Originally, there was still a fluke mentality. People who felt that there was always a way to have the best of both worlds only felt that their hearts seemed to fly into the sky and fell heavily into hell. Of course, they want Yunwu to wake up, but the baby is almost in the month of birth. I'm afraid it's already formed in the stomach, but now it's like this in such a big room. There was a dead silence, and everyone's face was full of sadness. Nangongyi looked at people's faces and his lips moved. Don't be too sad, my father has divined again. Maybe this time he can divine the result. Everyone knew that what he said was just words of comfort, but he still nodded with a bitter smile. Only Yunlingyi and Yunqi look at each other, and see their thoughts in each other's eyes. For the two of them, no matter how bad the night was, they had never been in touch with each other. A man suddenly came out and brought such a despairing news. They were not willing to believe it. Instead, they had better hoped that the Nangong family could give an answer. That knight, after all, was an outsider. The corner of the knight's mouth has a radian. Divination? Even if it's divination. I'm afraid it's similar to what I said? Sure enough, it wasn't long before someone reported that the Nangong family had sent news. Please get someone in. Yunqi and others have been worried for a long time. Now when they hear that someone is coming, they can't even ask someone to sit in the main hall and say, so they let someone into the room directly. Nangongshui came in under the guidance of the maid. Before she could speak, they surrounded her directly. What's up? Did the divination work out? Cloud Cold E anxiously asks away. Is there any divination? Does Xiaowu have a way to wake up? Has the dragon fallen down? Shangguan then asked. What's the result of divination? Good or bad? Everyone wanted to say something, but they were afraid that it would disturb Yunwu, so they could only keep their voice as low as possible. Maybe they just got the reason of Yunwu's coma from the mouth of the knight. So now we all want to get more information from Nangongshui. Don't worry, everyone. Nangong Water's face flashed hesitation. It was obvious that he had divined something, but he was hesitating whether to tell you. Brother Nangong. Yunlingyi stepped forward and patted him on the shoulder. The two of them were of the same generation. Yunlingyi understood his feelings best. No matter what the result of divination is, you can tell it. To be honest, just now this young master has told us the reason why Xiaowu is unconscious. I think we already know the worst thing. Nangong Water smells speech. The fundus of the eye is quite puzzled. Turned to see the eye that night, although can't see his identity, can the bottom of the heart inexplicably tremble. Of course, the knight just nodded with a gentle smile to Nangongshui's sight, which was a greeting. Nangong Water half-ring just reaction come over, startled feel oneself lose posture, just clear voice way. You already know the reason of her coma? Yes. Nangongyi naturally noticed that his father was just different, but he didn't ask many questions in public. Instead, he simply recounted what he had just said. This. Nangong Water frowned, and his eyes were obviously shocked and speechless. Yunqi frowned. What's the matter? If you have anything to say, just say it. Nangong Water swallowed hard and said. This is exactly the same as my divination result. What did you say? Yunlingyi exclaimed. Nangongshui gave a wry smile. I only divined the cause of Yunwu's coma. I want to tell you immediately, but I don't think you already know. Yes, between the child and her only one. The original idea that Knight was a stranger and didn't believe in it disappeared. Unexpectedly, all this was true. Even the result of Nangongshui's divination told them that only one child and Yunwu could be left. Was it really God's will? Everyone's reaction fell in the eyes of the knight. A pair of deep eyes can't see any emotion. People's doubt didn't make him feel the slightest move. Moore didn't have any arrogance because everyone suspected the mistake. Don't think too simply. The child has a special constitution. Even if you really decide to kill the child, there is no way to kill him. Knight's words once again let people into despair. Today we are receiving too much news, and they can hardly bear the strong psychology. Do you want to let them die 2 times? Mu Xiaoming walks up to Yunwu with a painful expression on his face. Xiao Wu, I'm incompetent. As a doctor, I can't protect your children. As a friend, I can't protect you. What are you talking about? Meng Bai stepped forward and said, It's not your fault for Xiaowu's accident. How can you blame yourself for not being able to cure it? Is it just you who can't help it? With so many of us, we have no choice. Now what we have to do is to figure out how to kill Xiaowu while preserving her. As soon as Meng Bai's voice stagnated, he couldn't speak anymore. Meng Bai is right. Qi Yi said. As long as we can make Yunwu wake up safely, we can do anything. The eyebrow of Knight lightly picks, seemed to be some surprised of ask away. Anything? As soon as the words came out, everyone was stunned and they didn't move. Cloud Chi raises mouth to see toward the Knight. The facial expression is rather to flash over a silk hastily to say. You this words is what meaning? Is there any other way? Isn't it? Yunqi is not a hairy boy, but others can't understand his inner suffering. His focus now is his granddaughter. But this night, after all, he was not the one who understood. Suddenly he came out. He didn't know what his purpose was. Even if he was so excited that he wanted to come forward and ask him by the collar, he could only bear it. Knight, do you have any idea? Nangongyi stands in front of the crowd for fear that others will be excited. In fact, his hand in his sleeve is shaking constantly, and his palms are sweating to show his nervousness. Knight Light glanced at Cloud Chi one eye, clearly have no any emotion, but inexplicably give a person a kind of imperceptible strange feeling. Fortunately, he still spoke. The way to save her is to kill the child, but if you do, you may all die. A few people in the heart of a shock. Just a short moment, Hongling directly stood out. I would like to. I'm the contract beast of the master. If the master has an accident, I'm afraid I can't live. In this case, it's better to have a try. Maybe I can wake the master up. Not to mention I don't want anything to happen to my master. As soon as Hongling's words were finished, Xiaoqiu also stood up. And me, you said that you would die, but you just need a few people's lives, right? You say you need a few, and I'm the one. I can't watch numbness die, little stink. The dark beast, who came to observe the situation on the outside, had a movement in his heart, but as soon as he opened his mouth, he was interrupted by little stink. Don't stop me. Hemp is very important to me. If it's you and your mother who have such an accident, I will do the same. Don't look at the face of the dark beast. Although he is his father, Yunwu is more important in his heart. Don't make a noise, little stink. Shangguan said in a low voice. You are the pure-blood demon Huang of the Phoenix family, and your position is very important. If you have an accident, what do you want the Phoenix family to do? What's more, besides Xiao Wu, you also have family members and clansmen. This kind of thing I'm more suitable. I'm carefree. Even if there's an accident, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I've already. Shangguan, don't say that. Qi Yi's came up and said. You and our friends, you can make any of our belongings your home. Everyone here, no matter who has an accident, will feel sad. At least, when Yunwu wakes up, she will be very sad. Qi Knight's words abruptly let the next people who are ready to speak all stop the words about to export. Knight, you just say what you have to do to find a way to kill the child. Nangongyi said. Knight has been quietly looking at everyone, did not expect to see such a scene. He thought that when he put forward such a request, no one will try to save Yunwu. It seems that he despised these so-called human friendships. Since you want to know so much, I will tell you the way. It's up to you to decide whether or not to do it and who to do it. Yejin continued. The reason why I say I can't save her is that this method is almost impossible. At least so far, no one in the human world and the upper world can do it. The child in her stomach is basically a freak with dark and sacred constitution. If you want to get rid of it, you have to find several things, which are distributed at the east, south, west and north ends of the upper boundary. That's more dangerous than the human world. Do you really want to go? Mu Xiaoming said. Tell us the location of those things directly. We'll start as soon as possible. But what about Xiao Wu after we leave? Give it to me, you just need to find those things as soon as possible. Nightlight said. The crowd looked at each other and finally nodded. Ye takes out a pen and paper from his personal space, quickly writes a few addresses and names on one side of the table, then folds it up and hands it to Nangongyi. These things are things that ordinary people can't see. Remember, don't let others know your purpose at any time. Several people nodded, feeling that these 4 things must be very precious, so they could not be known to the world, so that they would not be robbed. Naturally, they felt that the words of the knight were reasonable, and did not think about anything. After that, Knight was arranged to rest in a room near Yunwu, and Nangongyi directly began to discuss how to find the 4 things that day. Finally, Nangongyi and Qi Yi's went to the east of the upper world to find the things of Jiyang, and the fire of the other world. Xiao Xiaoqiu and Meng Bai went to the west of the upper world to find the most in thing, and the ice of the soul. Shangguan and Mu Xiaoming went to the north of the upper boundary to look for Tianxian jade. Lan Yu, Hong Ling and Bai Shuer go to the south of the upper boundary to search for Disharii. Others guard the human world to prevent accidents at any time. After grouping, people just feel that they can't wait for a moment. They quickly pack up their things and set off directly. In the middle of the night, each figure flies away from Yun's home quickly and flies towards the transmission array to the upper boundary. 2 days later, in the middle of the night, the heavily guarded Cloud family. Although Yunwu gets the way to wake up, Yunqi and Yunlenji still can't lift their spirits. Their unborn grandson will die in their hands. No matter who they are, they won't be happy. After Shangguan and them left, Yunqi still went to Yunwu's room to watch her every day. Whenever they had time, they would come to accompany her. Occasionally they could see the knight, but they seldom stayed with him. When Nangongyi left, he told them about the knight's temper, so they were more or less psychologically prepared. He was also Yunwu's savior, so they didn't neglect him. On this day, Yunqi and Yunwu stayed in Yunwu's room for a long time. Looking at Yunwu's bulging stomach and his face that never woke up, they both sighed and left the room shaking their heads. I don't know if they can find those things. Cloud Chi sighed and said, Father, don't worry, they will be able to do it. Don't forget, they took everyone to destroy the Beast Gate. Cloud Coldy and Courage of say, in fact oneself and the heart also have no bottom. Well maybe. Yunqi said, they told the guards to watch Yunwu well, and then left here one after another. Soon after they left, a figure flashed out in the shadow. The guards didn't find anyone, but they felt a pain in the back of their neck and were directly knocked unconscious. Then, the black shadow moved quickly and went directly into the room. The knight is shrouded in black shadow, looking at the sleeping clouds on the bed, whispered, You should be glad to meet me, or you will really lose this child forever. After that, with a wave of the big hand, the black energy gushed out, directly shrouded the cloud dance, and disappeared into the room with her. No one in the Cloud family even finds out what happened here. It's just that after tomorrow, the whole Cloud family, and even the human world will not be peaceful. The long night was dark and cool as water. Lying on the bed, Yunwu breathes quietly. Her black hair is scattered on the pillow. Her face is thin and her lips are pale. She closes her eyes tightly and frowns slightly. Her expression is very sad and dignified. She still has tears in her eyes, purses her lips and holds the sheet tightly in her hands, but she never wakes up. Since the coma, Yunwu has been wandering in the deep, sad and cruel dream. Time and again, she saw the whole sky surging, time and time again. She saw the dragon fall evil in front of her, seriously injured and disappeared. Everything happened so unprepared. She burst into tears and attacked the inexplicable black light column again and again, but she was defeated again and again. Dream is the color of blood red, the clouds in the blood wandering. Long Qingxia. She yelled. The hand of the ancient sword suddenly cut to the front of the black light column, with blood red in the world. Unexpectedly, only the two of them. The black light column constantly erodes the dragon's evil spirit, which makes Yunwu feel extremely sad. However, the huge power makes her unable to get close to her. She spurts out a mouthful of blood and falls on her knees. Suddenly, a violent pain let Cloud suddenly brain roar. In the dream can't help but pain Hame. And then suddenly opened his eyes. She thought that what she would see next would be the surging sky and the dragon's evil spirit disappearing in front of her, but she found that there was a dark stone wall in front of her. And I'm like lying in bed. Her throat is hot and her eyes are sour. She can't help closing her eyes and coughing twice. Yunwu suddenly finds that her voice is very hoarse. She breathes with pain as if it were on fire. She felt as if her voice was about to explode. She's still in Yunfu. She closed her eyes and let out a breath. She finally got rid of that dream and let her feel relieved. Forcing herself to open her eyes, she moved her body. She felt that her body was like an old rotten wood. Every move would make a sound. How long did she stay in bed? Yunwu complained in her heart. Looking around, she couldn't see anything clearly because of the darkness, so she had to give up and look inside her body. Her heart sank slightly, because she suddenly found that her body seemed to be eroded by something, and the energy of her body was constantly leaving, and now she also felt very weak. First of all, let yourself not think about the physical problems, but the first thing that comes to mind is another key question. Where is Dragon Wuxia now? She groped in the dark, struggling to get up, but she always felt that something was pressing her stomach. It was very difficult for her to get up. Wait, and her family? Why don't you feel a little angry? In the heart is startled by this terrible idea. In the heart a sink, suddenly sit up. But suddenly he was pushed by his huge stomach, and nearly fell back to bed. At this time, Yunwu was shocked to find that he was her stomach pregnant, looking down at his tummy. And such a big stomach, obviously is about to give birth. Although Yunwu is still calm on the surface, but her heart has set off waves. She gently stroked her stomach, took a deep breath, and tried to calm herself down. But when did she get pregnant? How long did she sleep? And what happened? Why didn't anyone come in? Are all the people in your family dead? A series of doubts swirled in my mind. She closed her eyes and recalled carefully, but suddenly in her mind, there was another scene that the dragon was seriously injured and in a coma and disappeared under the black light column. There were also black clouds rolling in the sky, and the black light column sent out the cold air. All the people tried to disperse the black light column, but they were all scattered, and they were all injured to varying degrees. And she, watching the light column, dragon evil gradually disappeared, finally, into a trance. The next thing, she did not know, only remember the last consciousness. Someone helped her back to the house, and then no longer conscious. I feel sad and sad. I close my lips. I don't know how long I've been sleeping. The baby in my stomach should grow up when I'm in a coma. Has Long Qingxia been missing for so long? No, I have to find him. Think like this. Difficult sit up from the bed. Tidy up clothes ready to go out. Are you awake? All of a sudden, a man's voice appeared in the room, which made Yunwu nervous. This person's voice sounds familiar, but I can't remember who it is. Yunwu frowned and looked at the person who slowly walked into the room with a candle. The man dressed in black, swaying in the candle, can only see a fuzzy figure. The room is dark, he is about to merge with the night. In the heart a burst of nervous. But now this person is standing in front of her not far away, and she just can't remember who it is. Frowning, Yunwu was very distressed, and he was inconvenient, so he was more alert to strangers who were not familiar with him. That person is not anxious, not slow, slowly approach. Finally, the dim light of the candle, accompanied by the figure of the man, slowly came to Yunwu's bed. Yunwu finally in the dark, completely see his appearance, suddenly in the heart of a surprise night. It's night. At that time, the leader of 10 cities on the top of the desert. The mysterious man who calls himself Night. How could he Night smile, nod as if to say hello to Yunwu, and then turn around, with a candle lit other candles in the room? Yunwu suddenly found that he was not in the general's house. In a strange and simple room, there is only one table and 2 stools in front of the bed. A pot of tea and several cups are placed on the table, while the candlestick is placed on the table at night. Everything around is so strange that Yunwu is very alert. Although facing the night is too mysterious after all. Although it is not the enemy, it is not too close. What's more, we can see at a glance that we are brought by him. She covered her stomach and knew that she had no ability to deal with everything in front of her, but she didn't know whether the night was good or bad. Yunwu wanted to speak, but her throat was hoarse and she coughed twice. Night slowly poured a glass of water, went to Yunwu's side, handed Yunwu. Drink some water, your voice has been speechless. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.